We will help as well. Night, Blue, and Aegis all flew up into the sky. Let me help as well, Haisi said, and was about to stand up when somebody grabbed him. It was his son, Ning. No, father, you are injured. Let us fight him instead, he said, and brought along his sons and nephews to fight the monster. Ning wanted to stop them but didn't. Keep him busy for a while. I will think of an idea, Ning said. Yes, Inikaka, they all replied. Before the fight even began, Ning knew they were all going to lose for sure. Ili's artifacts and Anya's strength couldn't amount to the sheer power Joachim could release from his cultivation base alone. Not to mention the many skills and powers he had acquired from taking in the bloodline of the many. Night's speed, Blue's strength, and Aegis' defense couldn't hold up to Joachim either. He was faster, stronger, and more durable than all of them. He also had the powers of all three of them, so that didn't help either. A big fight broke out and sounds of the booms could be heard from everywhere. Ning couldn't even keep up with the fight with his eyes and could only guess what was happening based on the sound. Haisi looked helpless and he stayed on the ground with both of his arms broken. All he could do was stop the random auras and shockwaves from hitting Ning. Ning needed to think of another way to kill the man, and for that, he needed to know if he could even be killed in the first place. Death rejection, a skill that could allow a person to have 3 lives, instead of 1. It was a skill that defied the laws of the universe and messed with the soul of its host to keep him alive. 12,000 years ago, when Joachim was cultivating to enter the second spirit formation realm and was in the midst of the breakthrough, he was caught by the many beasts and taken over to the center of the central continent to seal him away. During that time, they had put him in the coffin made out of a giant block of primordial holy jade. The coffin blocked all chi and aura from escaping and entering, thus Joachim no longer had any source of chi to continue his breakthrough, and went through chi deviation. That was his first death. He quickly came back to life as the system held his soul hostage from the natural laws and put it back onto the same body. Only, he lost all of his cultivation bases because of the chi deviation, so, he had to wait for the clone he had set up to come back to life and help him gain back his cultivation base through the many beasts' bloods he was fed through the crystal he left behind. Once his strength was back to normal and even better afterward, he planned on his escape. When he realized what had happened to the clone, he decided to move forward with the plan. He killed the beast and left for the origin to break through one final time before the world had changed. Except, his plans were foiled by Ning. And he was also responsible for his second death. So, Ning asked the system, if I can kill him again, he will die for certain? Yes. No chance of him returning in any way? He asked. No, damn it. How'd I do that though? Ning wondered. He heard a bam and another body with torn and broken limbs fell onto the ground. There were about 6 different ones like that by now, and all of them were Hiesi's descendants. Ning quickly walked up to the Hekti who had just fallen while Haisi could only walk up to him, not even able to hold him up while Ning fed him the pill. Haisi was feeling worse than Ning right now, seeing everyone he had watched grow up from childhood be on the brink of death while he was down here doing nothing. Inikaka, have you thought of something by now? He asked. No, Ning said. But I have found something. If I can kill him again, he will die for sure. Hiesi's eyes shined. Are you sure? Yes, absolutely, Ning said. He will die and won't return any longer. Bam! Another person fell to the ground. Ning quickly ran up to the person and saw that it was Hijaka. He was barely holding on to life with almost half the organs in his chest ripped away. No, my grandson, Haisi cried out when he saw Hijaka in such a state. Ning quickly brought out a pill and fed him. He also brought out a paste and put it on top of his chest to heal him faster. Just as he was done, another one fell a little further away. This one was less injured, so they were relieved, but when Ning tried to pull a pill out, he realized that he was all out of it. Oh no, he said. I'm out of healing pills. He still brought out a medicinal paste, but it wouldn't work the same way a pill did. Inikaka, Haisi called him when he saw that. Are you absolutely sure you will remain dead? Ning got annoyed now. Why do you keep asking that so many times? Yes, yes, yes. Haisi smiled when he heard that. Then let me kill him. You will kill him? Ning looked confused for a second before realizing what he meant. No, 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 I'm not letting you kill yourself. What else can we do, Inikaka? Haisi asked. I will think of some way, he said. And while you do that, more of my descendants will die, Inikaka, Haisi said. But Ning tried to argue. Please let me do it. Please take him away from here while I can kill him without worrying about getting any of them caught up in it, Haisi said. Please Inikaka, just this one time, let me help you. Grandfather, Hijaka grunted as he tried to get back up. No, grandfather, you can't do that. Sit down child, I'm doing this for you, Haisi said. Inikaka, let's go. Are you sure, Haisi? Ning asked one last time as tears started forming in his eyes. Absolutely. Okay, Ning said and sent a message high up in the air. Come back you all. The message went to only 5 people that were up there, but it soon traveled to everyone. As soon as the message was sent, everyone stopped fighting and started to get away from Joachim, who was still trying to make his way down towards Ning. However, when he saw everyone move away, he started getting a little cautious and stopped. His rage had calmed down by now and he was starting to think things through once more. What's going on, Ning? Ili asked. Master, we don't have time, Anya said as she held her left arm that took a nasty hit from Joachim. You guys sit back. We're going to end this now, Ning said. We? Who's we? Ning, the junior, asked and looked around when he saw his father's solemn face and his nephew's tears. I will do what Inikaka did moments ago and explode my body on top of him to kill him, Haisi said. No, you can't do that, father, Ning said. It's okay, my child. Take care of yourself and the other children, Haisi said. Goodbye. I will go meet your mother now. Everyone started saying different things to stop Haisi from doing so, but he didn't listen to anyone. Ning, are you sure you want to do this? Ili asked. You saw how strong he is. I wouldn't want this if I had another way as well, Ning said. Ili got silent for a while and said, do what you have to do. Ning nodded. He then turned around to Haisi and asked, are you ready? Yes, Inikaka. This strength you gave me, I will finally make use of it. Ning's body disappeared in a flash and Haisi heard a soft voice coming out from himself. Get ready, the voice said. Just grab him. Yes. And then Haisi disappeared. Joachim saw it all from high in the air, and using his incredible hearing ability could also hear what they were saying. Even without that, he was already cautious against people trying to explode on top of him as he only had one more life. So, when Haisi reappeared behind him, he immediately flew away. However, even when he flew away, Haisi once again appeared right next to him and grabbed him. Haisi's arms were still in pain, but he could hold on to Joachim pretty easily. Let go of me, Joachim shouted, but Haisi didn't let go at all. You will need to pay for what you have done, Ning's voice came from inside of Haisi. Die. Haisi shouted and started to unstabilize his body and soul to explode them. However, just then, even as Haisi was holding him, Joachim disappeared. What? Ning shouted in surprise. Haisi, who was going to explode himself, also stopped. Damn it. He can teleport even while we are holding him? Ning thought. Inikaka. Where is he? Haisi asked. I don't know, Ning said. Let me check. Ning asked the system for some information and soon learned where Joachim had gone to. He's in the upper central continent. Probably the hideout of his clone. He must have marked that place too since he said he could only teleport to where the mark was, Ning said. What do we do now? Haisi asked. We try again, Ning said and teleported away. He appeared right behind Joachim and Haisi immediately grabbed him again. What? How are you here? You shouldn't have known I was here, Joachim shouted. Even as he did, he disappeared once more. Ning asked the system and learned that he had gone to the origin. He tried once more, but Joachim teleported from that place as well. He had gone back to the hideout. Ning tried a couple of times, but Joachim kept on teleporting back and forth between the two places. We need to stop him from teleporting somehow, Ning said. How? Haisi asked. Ning stayed quiet and asked the system some questions. Soon, he got exactly the information he needed. He's using chi to teleport around. So, if we can make him spend all of his chi, we can kill him, Ning said. All right. Let's keep going after him then. At some point he will have to stop, Haisi said. Ning kept quiet for a while and did nothing. Inikaka? Haisi called him once more. No, Ning replied finally. That won't work. My energy isn't enough to sustain the teleportations longer than he can sustain his chi. At some point, I will lose and he will get free rein to get stronger. Then what do we do? Haisi asked. Sacrifice, Ning said. That is the only way. But I'm already doing that, Inikaka, Haisi said. No, not just yours. A quiver sounded in Ning's voice as he spoke. This task requires my sacrifice as well. What do you mean? Haisi asked. Ning teleported and reappeared on the beach where the people were looking in the sky, dreadfully waiting for an explosion to happen. Father, grandfather, Hiesi's family was surprised and happy to still see him alive. Don't celebrate, Ning said. This is one last meeting before our goodbye. Ning? Ili got worried. Ning's body reappeared and Ning jumped back into it. I'm so sorry, he said as his eyes started tearing up. I didn't want it to go this way at all. I wanted to live forever with you all. But, it seems I will have to leave you all. He was starting to cry now. Seeing him cry, Ili and Anya started getting worried. What's going on? Ili asked. Master, why are you sad? Anya asked. I'm going to have to leave you all now, along with Haisi. This one requires my sacrifice as well, Ning said. Master? The beasts came up to him as well, clearly worried. Take care of yourself, you guys. I will have to go away for a little bit, Ning said, but no one believed the little bit part, not when he was crying so much. Please explain what's going on, Ili demanded as she started tearing up as well. Haisi cannot kill Joachim as long as he can use chi. Because of that, the only way for him to die is if I take him to a place where he is too preoccupied with using his chi to even be able to teleport, Ning said. What do you mean? Anya asked with tears in her eyes. Confusion was also clearly visible through the tears as well. I'm going to take him to a place where he will have to fend himself from the environment, more than he will from us, Ning said. And while he's distracted, we will kill him. No way, are you? Ili gasped as she realized what was happening. Anya understood as well. Yes, Ning said. The only way to kill him is if I take him through the portal on the North Pole. I don't understand, Ili said. Didn't you already come back from there once before? Why is it goodbye this time then? That's because, when we kill Joachim, the force from the explosion will destroy the wormhole and there will be no way for me to return back, Ning said. Are you sure? Maybe it won't, there's no need to say goodbye right now, right? Anya asked worriedly. No, I'm sure, Ning said, because that was exactly what the system said would happen as well. No, please. I'm sure there are other ways, Ili begged. Master, if you're going, then take us with you, Knight spoke up from the side as well. I can't do that. Outside of this place, you will just be a normal beast with a limited lifespan. I won't be able to take care of you at all, Ning said. Besides, you guys have a family now, you belong somewhere. I can't keep you with me all the time. In fact, Ning brought his arms forward and swung it in front of them. You guys are free now. Knight, Aegis, and Blue looked in shock as they felt the compulsion deep inside of them disappear. Ning set them free from the domination he had put them under. Grow, and bring back the majesty of the beasts that had been lost to this land. Ning then turned to Anya and poured out everything he had in his inventory. He was giving almost everything to her. Anya, I task you with the responsibility to find cures for the hybrids that will appear amidst the tragedies in all the different places, Ning said. Also, take care of the others, as you will now be my only disciple. Yes, Master, Anya said through her tears. You guys, take care of this place while your grandfather is gone. Make him proud, Ning said to the Clavians. Yes, Inikaka, they replied. Finally, he turned to Ili. It might take me a while, but I promise, I will come back to find you, so, just wait for me, okay? Ili nodded, unable to make any sound. All right, this is goodbye, but it's not forever. If I do what I'm going to do, there is a good chance I will get to see you all guys again, in the future, Ning said. Ning's body disappeared and a voice came from Haisi. So, see you guys later, and then they left them, never to return back. Ning teleported Haisi mid-air, a little further away from Joachim, who was desperately flying through the air towards one of the beasts that were close by. If he got his fill with this one and maybe a few more, even Haisi probably wouldn't be able to kill him. Joachim got angry when he saw Haisi again and was about to teleport away when Haisi suddenly threw a spear at him. Joachim stopped himself from teleporting and instinctively caught the spear and looked at it. It was just a normal wooden spear. He crushed the spear into smithereens and asked, "What were you trying to achieve?" "Doesn't matter," Haisi said. "You already fell into our trap anyway." A voice appeared from deep inside of Joachim, terrifying him. "What? He looked around, and used his divine sense, but he couldn't find him. No need to look anywhere. You just need to die. Joachim's vision changed as he was seeing a different part of the sky now. He sensed something behind him and tried to get away, but someone caught him, and suddenly, his vision changed once more. The new scene he saw was a scene of terror for him. Massive amounts of glittering lights came rushing at him and even hurt him. He used his chi to block the attacks and was easily maintaining himself. However, he felt the person holding him start pulling him down. No, Joachim shouted and disappeared, appearing inside the origin realm. However, just as he did, he teleported once again, directly in front of Heisi once more. Heisi got close and grabbed him once again, pulling him further below. Joachim tried to disappear away again, but it wasn't working. Every single time, he was brought back straight to the same place, grabbed by the same person, getting pulled once more. He was getting pulled further and further in until he felt a very unusual feeling of gravity reversing as the pulling force suddenly became the pushing force. He still had plenty of chi to run away and tried to do so. However, even as he thought and did that, his body didn't disappear. No, Joachim cried out. Teleport, he shouted, but his body, nor his system could do that. Despite the wormhole being right next to him, the distance the wormhole was considered to have was many, many light years long by the system, and thus he couldn't teleport out of the place. Since he couldn't do that anymore, he tried to force Heisi off of him, but he also had a hard time doing that as no matter how hard he hit Heisi, he didn't let go. Heisi was fully prepared to kill himself, so a few hits weren't going to make him stop anymore. Stop, he shouted. Stop, don't kill me, I don't have any more lives. No, you will die. You will die for what you did to those people. You will die for what you did to those beasts. Ning's voice came from deep inside of him. You will die for what you did to my people. No, I can't die. Not like this, please. I beg you. I'm sorry. Joachim started getting desperate. Apologize with your life. Die and be gone. Your death shall bring salvation to the planet in more ways than one, Ning said. After all, while killing you, we will also bring back balance to the planet. Your death shall be the event that propels Kumiya to a better future, Ning shouted. Then his voice got soft and somber one final time as he said, Heisi, do it. Yes, Inikaka, Heisi said. No, no, no. Even as Joachim shouted, Heisi didn't leave him and simply let his body and soul get disrupted enough that he couldn't not longer handle it anymore. Boom. And then, Heisi died, and he killed Joachim with him. Light emerged from the depths of the northern pole in Kumiya, and the peak of afterlife in the southern pole of Vilmore. Both planets felt the ground shaking around them as earthquakes went around the world a few times before stopping. The death of two spirit transformation realm experts wasn't enough to do this. It was, however, enough to destabilize the space around them just enough so that the wormhole could start splintering on one end, and start to thoroughly unravel as time went on. The lights and earthquakes persisted for a while before they finally stopped, and the portal between the two planets was now gone forever. Ning, who was at the center of it, saw it all happening with his own eyes and felt it to his core. He didn't really know what he was inside right now. After all, Joachim's body had been thoroughly destroyed. The only thing he knew was that after the explosion, and the destruction of the wormhole, he was ejected out of the peak of afterlife and was now floating high in the air above the planet. It took a while for him to register what had happened, but after it did, he couldn't help but feel incredibly sad. He wanted to cry, but he had nobody right now. All he could do was live with the sadness that he was feeling at the loss of his oldest friend. Are you happy, system? You wanted his system to get destroyed, right? I hope Hiesi's sacrifice helped you with that, Ning said. Yes, the system is now gone. Ning didn't feel anything when he heard that. That wasn't why he had gotten Heisi to do what he did, for himself to do what he did. Less than because you helped in destroying the bloodline system, the system has prepared a little gift for you greater than. A gift? Ning asked. The system never gave any gifts, so it wouldn't be a lie to say that he was surprised despite feeling incredibly sad right now. You will have 5 minutes, please make the most of it. What? Ning asked just as he felt his consciousness shift to a different location. Only, he knew he hadn't left whatever he was inhabiting yet. The new place he seemed to have arrived was completely dark with no light whatsoever. What is this? Ning asked as he looked down and saw his own 2 feet. He then moved his hands forward and saw the 2. My body? He was surprised and tried to touch his face, but just as he did, his hands went through his face. I'm ethereal, He thought and noticed that he was slightly transparent as well. I'm a soul? He wondered. Suddenly, he felt something behind him, and even as he was turning around, a voice reached his ear. Inikaka. Ning turned around to see Haisi standing in front of him, in the same soul-like ethereal form he was in. Except, he didn't look at all like the Haisi Ning knew. Haisi looked different, he looked. Ning's eyes widened when he realized that it did look like the Haisi he knew. Only, it had been so long that he had lost almost all memories of those times. Haisi? Ning asked. Yes, it's me, Inikaka, Haisi said. Even as he did, he saw his own arms and legs and saw how thin they were, and small. What's goin'? You look exactly like you did when I met you for the first time, Ning said. It's good to see you like this again, Haisi. Ning could feel himself getting both happy and sad right now. He was happy that he was with his oldest friend and sad that it would only last for less than 5 minutes. How am I here? I thought I died, Haisi said. It's my system. It did something to capture your soul for just a little longer, I think, Ning said. Well, I'm glad it did. At least I get to talk to you before I pass away, Haisi said with a smile. Seeing the small child saying such a thing made Ning uncontrollably sob. Inikaka? Haisi got worried. I'm so sorry, Haisi. You shouldn't have to die. I should have been strong enough to protect you all, Ning said. When Haisi heard that, he smiled. Don't be sad, Inikaka. I'm happy to have been of help to you. All my life, I've only received things from you, never giving anything back. I finally got to fulfill my one lifelong wish because of this. And hey, you aren't the only one that wants to protect others. They're my friends and family too. It is my job and my right to sacrifice myself to help them. I only hope that it was useful, Haisi said. Ning stopped his crying and started nodding. It did. It helped them all in ways you could have never imagined, Ning said. The beast man died, right? What else was there to expect? Haisi asked. Haha, Ning laughed. You don't realize it, none of them do. If they knew, your name would go down in history as the one who helped them advance further now. Haisi looked incredibly confused right now. What are you talking about, Inikaka? He asked. Long ago, the planet of Kumiya was a perfectly fine place where beasts could easily reach the spirit transformation realm and beyond, Ning explained. However, 19,000 years ago, a wound appeared on the land that made it so that the level of chi in the planet was never enough to go beyond the nascent soul realm. The origin was never fast enough to create chi such that it could replace what had leaked away, Ning said. Haisi went from having a confused look to one of understanding with great surprise. You mean? Yes, today, you cured the world of the wound. From now on, the planet of Kumiya will start to have more and more chi, and soon your descendants and their descendants will grow up in a world where reaching the realm of the immortals is a possibility. That is the gift you have given them with your sacrifice. Hiesi's eyes stayed wide as he realized that the reason for the lack of chi on the planet was because the wormhole in the northern pole was taking away most of it anyway. So, the wormhole is gone, and the world is saved? Haisi asked. Yes, it's more than saved. It couldn't have been better, Ning said. Haisi smiled and even started giggling. Ha ha ha, if I had known that beforehand, I wouldn't have to stress so much about killing myself. I would have gone with a smile, Haisi said. Look at you, you are going with a smile, Ning said. Haisi tried touching himself and realized he couldn't. Still, he could tell that he was smiling. You're right. I am smiley. Where am I? A voice appeared a little away from both Ning and Haisi. They both turned around and saw a teenage boy looking at them. Who are you? Ning asked. He had never seen someone like this before. The boy they were looking at was a scrawny man with puckered lips, sunken eyes, and bones that showed their shapes through the muscles. The boy looked around the black void in confusion until he saw Ning once again. What have you done, you bastard? The little boy asked. Ning recognized the tone and couldn't help but be surprised. Joachim? He asked. Of course, it's me. Who else would it be? Joachim asked angrily. You look different, Ning said. Different? Why would I look? He stopped when he saw his weak-looking arms and dirty nails. No, not this, he said. It can't be. He tried to bring forth his hair, but he couldn't touch them at all. What's going on? What color is my hair? He asked. Red, Ning said. Red? This can't be. Am I going to have to live through the traumatic times once again? Am I going to die of hunger once more? he asked as if he had lost all sense of self. He once again looked at his arms and legs, and slowly, he started sobbing. No, not this. I don't want this, he started crying. System. What's going on? Why did you bring him here? Ning asked. The system wanted to show you something. What did you want to show me? Ning asked. However, before the system could even answer, Joachim went into a rage at what he looked like. I thought I left this behind when I reincarnated. Why'd I still look like this? He cried. My past life and this life, both of these times I suffered. Then why'd I have to suffer even in death? Did I not suffer enough? What more do you want from me, God? Ning could feel the sorrow in his voice, but his hatred kept him from feeling bad for him. Is this what you wanted to show me? A man who knew nothing but sadness his entire life? Ning asked. No, the system is not that superfluous. What will happen in a second is what the system wanted you to see. Just as Joachim was crying out loud, Ning noticed that his transparent body was now starting to flake at places. This grew more and more as all of his body started flaking and falling into pieces like dead skin. What's going on? Joachim started shouting as he too noticed this. Even as he shouted, the flakes appeared more and more until half his body was gone. Even then, it did not stop. System. What's happening? Ning asked. Is there something wrong with his soul? This is the result of the system that he hosted. Since most systems are an attempt at copying the energy system, the creators do everything they can to reach that point. They obviously fail to make one similar to the energy system, but the things they do to reach whatever level of imitation they reach, they have a lot of negative impact on one's soul. The system hurts the soul? Ning asked. Yes. A system cannot attach itself to a physical body. It can only attach itself to a soul, as only souls are capable of hosting a system. That is the reason why, despite attaching to you while you were alive, the energy system only worked after you died. And, whenever a system attaches itself to the soul gets tainted. That is the effect of the soul being far too tainted. Ning watched as the remaining pieces of the Joachim crumbled away with nothing else remaining. What exactly happened to him? Ning asked. A soul reaches a varying level of taintedness depending on how much the system defies the law of the world. His system kept his soul hostage and even made bodies for him after he died. That tainted his soul to a level that it was no longer accepted by the world and could no longer reincarnate. So, his soul was destroyed just like that. This is why the system dislikes the other systems. Most of the creators only want to make systems for the sake of making a system. They have no care for the life it may help or destroy. That is what the system wanted to show you. Ning stayed quiet for a bit. He took in the information he was just handed and thought it through. Does that mean that my soul is tainted as well? Ning asked. No, you don't have a soul. During reincarnation, your soul was changed to a pure form of energy. That is all you are. It is the reason why you can never die. At least, you can never die in this realm where energy itself can never die. Inikaka. Haisi called him. Is that going to happen to me too? No, Ning said. That happened to him because of what he did. You are fine. I see. I'm glad, Haisi said. Still, I feel quite bad for him. It looked like he never had any good life, whether it be this one or his last one. Yes, Ning said. And the system creators prey on such innocent people to further their own ego. Ning started to get angry just thinking that. He felt like he could start to see the reason why the system hated the other systems. You have 20 seconds remaining. What? No, that is too low. I haven't even had time to say goodbye, Ning cried out. Inikaka. Haisi called. What's happening? The system says you are going away now, Ning said frantically. No, I just need a little longer. I want to talk to you a little longer. I see, Haisi said calmly. I'm going away, huh? I guess it's time for me to leave then. No, just a little longer, Ning started begging. System, please. Less than. I'm afraid that's not possible. The system is using your mental strength to keep him around. If he stays any longer, you will be in danger of your mental state reaching a critical level wherein you will go into hibernation once more greater than. I don't care, Ning said. I just want him to stay a little longer. Very well. The system will leave the control to this whole thing in your hands. Good, Ning said. As the seconds reached closer to 0, he started noticing his headaches appeared. Inikaka, are you all right? Haisi noticed his frowning face too. I'm fine. It's just a little headache, Ning said. Why are you hurting here? Aren't you just a soul? Haisi asked. It hurts because you don't need to know, Ning said even as the pain got close to being unbearable. The 5 minutes had passed by now, and whatever region he was in was not something that system had accounted for. Inikaka, are you hurting because of me? Haisi asked. Ning didn't know what to say. I just want to keep you around for a little longer. I don't want to see you go. Inikaka, you can't do that. You know that, right? Haisi asked. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you remain here, just a little longer, Ning said. Inikaka. Haisi shouted. Stop being stubborn, you have to let me go. But Ning couldn't speak through his tears. Let me go, Inikaka, Haisi said, and just promise me that when I reincarnate, you will find me. Ning sniffled as he spoke, I promise. Whether it is a day, a month, a year, a decade, a century, millennia, or even eons later. Whenever you reincarnate, wherever you reincarnate, I will find you. Haisi smiled after hearing that. That's all I needed, Inikaka. If wishes can come true, I wish that when I meet you, I am just a weak little boy again. What? Ning was confused. Haha, that way you can help me become stronger once more like you did the first time, Haisi said as he gave a meek little smile. Goodbye, Inikaka. Goodbye, Haisi, Ning said through his splitting headache. I guess, I will see you later, then, Haisi said and waved. His figure turned translucent and soon turned fully transparent. Even as he disappeared, he spoke one last time as he disappeared. Thank you, Inikaka. The black void disappeared, and Ning saw the planet Vilmore, the sun, and the sky in full glory. The headache he was suffering from got a lot worse now, and soon, he could hear the system start speaking once more. Host has overextended his mental capacity and crossed the critical state. Putting host on coma to preserve his mental state. System is going dormant. Ning's mind came into focus as he started waking up again. His drowsy head soon became clear and he could hear the swishing and smashing of the waves. Where am I? He wondered and slowly looked around. Everywhere he looked, all he could see was water. Fortunately, it seemed like he was in shallow water as he could clearly see the surface just a few meters above him. I went into a coma again, didn't I? He asked himself. How long did I sleep for this time, system? You were in a coma for 30 years, 6 months, 12 days, and 44 seconds. Hey, that's not too bad. I thought I would have been gone for 165 years like last time, Ning said. Your mental strength has improved a lot since that time, so you recovered faster than last time. I see, Ning said. He flew up from the water and burst out of the surface. When he looked around, he could see the ocean on one side, and the beach just a few dozen meters away. He once again flew towards the beach and landed on it. Surprisingly, the sands felt cool to the touch, despite being in the clear sun. That's unusual, Ning thought. He sent out his body from his inventory and quickly switched over. Finally, he stood up in his new body, in these unfamiliar lands, all alone. He thought and looked down. The sands are indeed very hot. Why did I not feel it in the stone? He had just wondered that when he remembered that he hadn't absorbed energy in a long time, so he must have been absorbing all of the heat without letting a single bit of energy remain. That should end quickly, Ning thought as he could already feel a sea of ether forming inside of his body. His automatic ether absorption skill he had bought over 2 millennia ago was doing its work. He ignored it for now and simply sat on the incredibly hot sand, looking into the distance of the ocean. I need to go back, somehow, he thought. I don't even know where Kumiya is in the first place, do I? System, can I get a map of the universe? He asked. You do not have enough energy for that. Yeah, I thought that would be the case. Then, how far away is Kumiya? I should have energy for that information, right? He asked. Planet Kumiya is 34 million light years away. Light years? Ning was shocked. That's very far away. Is it in a different galaxy by any chance? Yes. Planet Kumiya is about 3 galaxies away from where you are. 3 galaxies. Geez. What am I supposed to do with that information? How do you suggest I go back there quickly? Ning asked. There are a few ways you can find a portal that leads close to Kumiya and travel normally from there. You can focus on unlocking the next few energies so that you can increase the cap and get a lot of energy at once so that you can open a temporary portal of your own. You can also find an advanced planet that has learned how to perform intergalactic space travel. However, these planets are very rare. Ning thought when presented the options. Are there any portals on this planet that can lead me to the galaxy where Kumiya is in? Ning asked. No, there are no such portals in this galaxy. Okay, that's one option out. I will require 1 quadrillion energy for my next energy, don't I? That's a little annoying, but whatever. I will see what I can do. Although, how much energy would I require to open a portal from here to Kumiya? Ning asked. Approximately 3.6 sextillion. Ning was surprised at first because of how large the number was and almost even started to calculate how long it would take him to open the portal, but then he stopped. Wait, that's too little, right? Ning asked. He had calculated something similar before and he had learned that if he wanted to teleport exactly 1 light year away, it would cost him a little less than 20 quadrillion energy. If he could travel millions of light years with about 1/10 of the energy, then it was definitely cheap. Is there a reason, system? Ning asked. Opening portals is cheaper if the travel distance is very far away. Since you are squeezing space and not moving matter through space, it costs cheaper by comparison. It is suggested that you use teleportation for until 2000 light years of distance, and open portal for after that. Is there a calculation for the opening portal as well? Similar to the one for teleportations? Ning asked. The system gave him a bit of information that was so confusing that even after having been told what it was, he was still confused. The math being used in this case was something he hadn't seen before, and likely wouldn't ever see from anywhere else. So, all I need to know is that if the distance is less than 2000 light years, it's better if I use teleportations, but if it's longer, I should make a portal. Alright, got it, Ning said. I guess that 2 is not a possibility for now since I don't have much energy. Finally, as for finding humans that have learned intergalactic space travel, are there such advanced societies in this galaxy? Ning asked. No, not in this one or the next one. There is however life on the second galaxy that can use space travel and consistently travels to and from the third galaxy. Oh, that's nice, Ning said. So, let's see, there really is just one way then. Gather enough energy and hop through galaxies. Hopefully, on one of those, I will find a portal back to Kumiya or somewhere close by. Ning's eyes shined with determination as he stood up and looked up into the sky with a smile. Just wait a little longer, you guys. I promise I will be back very soon. Damn, am I in a desert or what? Ning wondered as he kept flying in the blistering heat of the sun. For some reason, he felt like everything was way too bright and hot. It had been nearly 15 minutes since he flew away from the beach and still, there was no sign of life anywhere. Now that he thought about it, there were no fishes in the brief glance he took underwater. What's going on? He wondered as he kept on flying. Finally, after a few more minutes, he saw the first sign of life. There were small shrubs in the desert, and he could see some sort of forest far away. He kept flying and finally reached the forest. The weird plants and trees of this planet really messed with his knowledge of plants from back in Kumiya. Still, he recognized a few of them from the time he was back. Wait, where actually am I? He wondered and asked the system. He had been preoccupied with just finding life that he had never bothered to know where he was. The system gave him an accurate location on the map he had from before. Although the map was only an intermediate one, it was still quite helpful to him right now. I will have to upgrade it soon, he thought. He then carefully checked the map and realized that he was close to the massive forest that spanned half of the entire continent. Ning took the time to check more of the map and realized that nothing of what he remembered from last time was on the map anymore. The places had all changed their names, old empires had broken down, new kingdoms had formed. Forest appeared in places that weren't a forest, and the forests that were there were destroyed to make room for humans. All, in just 2000 years, things had changed at an incredible rate, and Ning was going to let that happen one more time. I need to find the origin of this planet so that I can quickly get stronger, he thought. Unfortunately, the system wasn't going to help him in this case, and he was unsure what he could actually do. Alright, let's just spend some time collecting energy before I go do anything, Ning thought and flew inside the forest and found himself a place to stay. He carved a giant tree and stepped inside. So, how long will it take me to collect enough energy to fill my cap daily with my current speed of ether absorption? Ning wondered. He didn't know how long he had, so he used the technique he already bought and used it to speed up his ether absorption process. In just 5 minutes, he was notified that he could no longer absorb any more energy. Ning then left his body and moved to the tree, wherein he took back his body and decided to go unconscious. Alright system, wake me up when the cap resets, he said. Less than confirmed greater than Ning slowly lost consciousness and immediately felt it coming back on. However, some time had clearly passed as the time was night now. He went back into his body and tried to do the same thing once again. When he used the better, manual ether absorption skill, he could be done in about 20 minutes. Other times, Ning would consider that to be quite fast, but now that he was used to the energy absorption time of the origin, this felt incredibly slow to him. I need something better, he thought. Status. Name. Ning Ruigong Energy. 18 billion separated energy. Heat energy. 9 billion sound energy. 4 billion chi energy. 0. Kinetic energy. 3 billion ether energy. 2 billion. Skill. Ning realized that he didn't really have a lot of energy now. Did I spend a lot with those questions I asked the system regarding Kumiya? He wondered. How much energy would I require to upgrade my current automatic absorption art so that I can become an ether master in a single day? Ning asked. You want to collect 100 million ether in a single day. This will cost you 12 trillion energy. Yikes, that's a lot. That will take a few years certainly, Ning thought, although. He quickly opened up the list of things to buy and saw that there was still one more thing he hadn't acquired yet and definitely needed to before he did anything else. 235 trillion for perfect talent, Now the 12 trillion for the ether looks like nothing much really, he thought. 247 trillion in total, that will take me. How many years will it take me, system? He asked. 528 years and 248 days. Sigh. So long once more, Now I'm starting to doubt if I should even buy the talent. That's 1/4 of the way to getting my new energy. Why is it always such a hard decision? Ning wondered. Screw it. I will just go with the absorption art for now and spend all of my time unlocking the next type of energy. After that, my energy absorption speed should be 8 times faster. Then I can absorb all the energy in the world, Ning thought. Yes, that's the right thing to do. Okay, let's collect energy once more. And so, Ning went on another years-long energy gathering work where he did nothing but go in and out of gathering ether for days on end. All he would do was wake up, go into his body, reach his limit as fast as he could, go back to inhabiting the tree, sleep, and do it all over once again. From time to time, he had to change hosts as the trees couldn't handle his energy enough. He was gathering more energy than a normal tree could ever hold. So, he had to create an incredibly tough material so that it could collect as much energy as he could. Finally, after doing that for years on end, Ning felt that life had gotten too monotonous and needed some spark in it again. So, he decided to stop for now and left to find a human civilization. Status. Ning decided to check his status one more time as he had come to the decision of waiting to do whatever he wanted to do. Status name. Ning Ruigong Energy, 116.25 trillion. Separated energy heat energy, 120 billion sound energy, 80 billion. Chi energy. 0 kinetic energy, 50 billion ether energy, 116 trillion. Skill. Well, I'm halfway there to getting talent, I guess, Ning thought. Should I wait for a little longer then? However, he had already come to the decision to leave and no longer wanted to stick around doing nothing but gathering energy. I really need some human interaction, or I might go numb at this rate, he thought and flew away from the forest he was in. Along the way, he saw a couple of beasts with some purple lights escaping from around their body or their eyes, but they were way too common around here, so he didn't think much of them. After all, they were simply normal ether beasts. As he had previously known, the world of Vilmore was about the same size as planet Earth, but it only had a single continent on it. The single continent, however, spanned the entirety of the southern hemisphere, while the northern hemisphere was nothing but a massive ocean. The continent had a single massive forest that ran across half of it and was what marked the beginning and end of the continent. Viewing from the forest when turned towards the ocean, the continent began from the left of it and went all the way until it ended when it reached the forest again. The forest was thousands of kilometers wide, filled with ether beasts, so people never traveled through the forest. Ning remembered the man-eating tree he found back when he was here. If he could find such trees just an hour after walking in, who knew what sort of nightmare the place held? Ning shook his head and flew in the direction of the start of the continent. He was still on the outer edge of the continent and was not that far away from returning to the ocean if he wanted to. Finally, after an hour of flying, he was out of the massive forest. He looked around trying to find where exactly he was. According to the map, there should have been a village around here. Oh, there is it, Ning thought when he finally saw them on the other side of the sand dunes. This is the Udler village, he thought. He slowly landed out of it and walked into the village. However, he was surprised that he did not find anyone outside. There was not a single person roaming the streets of the village. All the houses he saw had their doors shut, but they didn't have any locks. He wished to see what was inside, but unfortunately, he didn't have any divine sense in this body. Not that he could use it on this planet. For a few seconds, he thought that he had come to a place with no people, just a ghost town. However, soon he knew he was wrong because he could hear sounds of cheering from across another dune. Are the people there? Ning wondered and walked up there. He could fly, but he didn't want to scare the people since flying wasn't exactly common in this place. He walked atop the very hot sand as the hot air wafted across his face as they rose up. He was starting to sweat a bit and also desired some water. He brought out a bottle from his inventory to drink it before moving to the top of the dune. When he finally reached there, he saw a gathering of people, around 100 or so, surrounding a person in the center. From what Ning could tell, the man seemed to be some sort of entertainer as the people were pretty excited to see him do stuff. Due to his bad vision, Ning couldn't exactly see what he was doing and walked down the dune to take a closer look. Coming down to the shaded side of the dune, the sands were much cooler here and Ning didn't find it as uncomfortable as before. Finally, he reached the bottom of the dune and saw the event more clearly. The people surrounding the man, who seemed to belong to this village, were wearing mostly white garments with very few colors. However, the man at the center of it all was wearing a fashionable blue pant, and a shirt with quite a vibrant black and red color on it. He had a small body, almost weak-looking, with slightly tanned skin. His curly hair fell to his shoulders while the white hat he wore hid most of it. His eyes were deep muddy brown in color, but there were traces of violet in it from time to time. Feated the demon lord, freeing the people of Xandria from the clutches of the demons. Since then, The entertainer moved his hands and the sand below him started floating in the air, clumping at parts and separating at others to form distinct images. Ning could see the figure of a man who held a sword in his hand and fought against numerous beasts. The image changed, and Ning could now see the man seating on what looked like a throne. The images changed once more. This time the man was with a woman and they held a child in their arms. The images changed, showing the child growing up until he sat on the same throne as the first man did. Emperor Cain has since stayed as the Emperor of Xandria for the last century and he will continue to stay as one for the next century, the man finished. Woo! The people shouted in excitement as the man finished his story. The images stopped changing and the sand fell to the ground. The man took a curtsy bow in front of all the people as they showered him with praise. Ning walked up front, curious as to who exactly this man was. All right people, gather around and give me what you have. I will pay you for it now, the man said as he set up a table in front of everyone. Mister, here are 10 pots I made this time. They're the best of the best. A man walked up holding a bunch of pots. Here I have 10 bags of dates that I grew myself, a woman walked up. My mommy made these shawls. There are 5 of these. A very young child walked up holding a bunch of clothes. Many people crowded around him, making him feel a little uncomfortable. People, please. Your time will come. Let's do it one by one, the man said. You with the 10 pots. Would you sell them to me for 15 coins? The man asked. Yes, the man with the pots said and immediately handed over the 10 pots. As soon as the entertainer took the 10 pots, they disappeared all of a sudden, making the crowd a little surprised. Next, you with the dates. The city folk really do love dates. Let's see, 40 coins for them all, the man asked. 40 coins. Absolutely. The woman felt ecstatic when she heard how much she would earn. Great, here are your coins, the man said as he handed over the 40 coins and took the dates. As soon as he did, once more all 10 bags of dates disappeared immediately. The people cried out in surprise as they didn't understand how it happened at all. Who's next? Oh yes, you little man. What did you say you have? The man said as he squatted down to the boy's level. My mommy made these shawls, the little boy said. And where's your mommy? The man asked. There, the boy pointed to a woman in the crowd. The woman walked forward and explained, he saw us doing this last time too and got very excited when he learned you were coming today. He kept saying that he wanted to be the one to sell these shawls I made. Oh, the man turned to look at the young boy. You want to sell these shawls by yourself? He asked. Yes. The boy answered meekly. Fantastic. Come on then, let me see the shawls, the man said. The boy happily handed over the shawls and the man looked at it very carefully. How about I give you 5 coins for these shawls? Are you okay with that? The man asked. Yes. The boy almost answered when his mother patted him and told him to say no. No, I want 10 coins, the boy said. 10 coins? Why? The man asked. My mommy worked very hard for those shawls, the young boy said confidently. Ooh, you run a very hard bargain, sir. Very well, 10 coins it is then, the man said. The boy immediately started smiling when he heard that. Really? He asked. Of course, and since you have been such a great customer, I will give you 1 coin more too. Here are 11 coins. Go give them to your mommy, the man said. The boy happily went up to his mother and handed her the money. The man then went on to deal with the remaining people who had all brought something with them. Ning wanted to go up and ask him a few questions on multiple instances, but the man never stopped buying stuff, so he had to wait. Once he was done, Ning thought he had the chance when he now started to sell stuff. Ning had to once more wait for an hour or so before the man was done selling everything. How do you guys like the story? The man asked the young kids from the village as he finished wrapping up his shop. It was okay, I guess, one of the kids said. Okay. Only okay? But you guys cheered so much, the man said with a shocked expression. It's because of the magic you do. We are all here to watch the magic, not the story, the kids said. Tisk. Get away from here, you little brats. It's not magic, it's ether arts. How many times do I have to tell you? The man asked. What's the difference? It's basically the same, the kids said and walked away. The man mumbled something underneath his breath saying how magic was fake, and ether arts were real, but no one was there to hear him. Except for Ning. Hi, Ning said as he walked up to the man. Sorry, I'm all done selling for today. Oh, it's you, the man said. Huh? You know me? Ning was a little surprised. What? Of course not. It's just that you stand out a lot. I've never seen dresses like that before and your untanned skin stands out a lot in the desert, you know, the man said. Ah, right. Sorry, you're not from around here, right? Do you happen to have a means for going to the city? I'm in need of some form of transportation myself, Ning said. Transportation? Yeah, that's just 2 mountains away from here, the man said. Why do you not know that? My apologies. I came from far away and don't really know the world a lot, Ning explained. Far away? The man looked at him up and down. You don't look like you're someone from the other side. The other side? Ning asked curiously. The other side? The end of the continent? The Republic of Embers? The man asked. Ah, that place. No, I'm not from there, Ning explained. Then, the man asked. It's a little hard to explain. Let's just say I came from around where the peak of afterlife is, Ning said. Whoa, you came from the very south, huh? The man asked. What are you doing here then? Oh, I was just roaming around for now. I was hoping you could help me get to this city you talked about not long ago, Ning asked. The City of Beginnings? The man asked. Sure, I don't mind at all. You can tag along. So, what's your name? The merchant entertainer asked. It's Ning. What's yours? Ning asked. I'm Reaver Skulls. Nice to meet you, Mr. Ning, Reaver said with a smile. They were no longer walking on sand, but rather crusted, deserted land as they made their way to the place where Ning assumed they were going to take a carriage. He could just fly away if he wanted to, but he found that quite boring, so he decided to just go on a carriage ride for a bit. So what exactly is it that you do, Brother Reaver? Ning asked. I'm just a merchant. What about you? Reaver asked. Well, Ning stopped, didn't know what exactly he could say. I don't have any job yet. If anything, I'm just a traveler, wandering around for no reason I guess. But you must do something, right? Even travelers need money, Reaver said. Well, I have a bit of medical knowledge, so you can think of me as a doctor, Ning said. Oh, a doctor? Those surely earn a lot. You must have been bored of your job to go roam the world, huh? Reaver said. Ning didn't say anything and just kept on walking with Reaver. Ning could see more and more trees as he went more and more south. After nearly 15 minutes of travel, Ning could see some sort of building standing ahead of them. However, he saw no carriage waiting for them there. Maybe there's some behind that building. He thought and got closer to the building, but even as they did, they couldn't see anything. I don't see anything there. Are you sure we can reach the city from here? Ning asked. A whistling sound came from somewhere behind them to the west and Ning turned to look, but there was nothing there. What do you mean? Reaver asked. Well, is the carriage kept somewhere else then? Ning asked. Huh? Reaver asked with a confused face. What old age do you live in? Mr. Ning, why would we take a carriage in this current day and age? A carriage can only get you so far. Ning got confused as well. What do you take then? Ning asked. Even as he did, he heard the whistle get closer and closer. Before Reaver could even answer, Ning turned around to look at what was making the noise. The moment he turned around, he could see a giant snake making its way towards him, its clear image hidden in the heat waves in the air. The snake whistled as it made its way towards them. Ning got scared. He was no longer as strong as he used to be, so despite having an undying body, he didn't want to go through the torture of getting eaten by a snake. Run, Reaver said and started running immediately towards the building. No, we should run that way, Ning said as he pointed towards the north, where they had come from. What? No, come on, hurry up, Reaver said as he ran towards the building. Ning started getting curious. Is that building special? Does it stop us from the snake somehow? He wondered. He decided to trust Reaver as it looked like he was used to doing this. He too ran behind him and soon they were at the building. Phew, we're safe, Reaver said. Are we? Ning asked. He could still hear the snake's whistle getting closer and closer. As it did, so did the vibrations from its movement. Of course, Reaver said. If we didn't, we would have had to wait for 3 hours for our next ride. Our ride? Ning looked confused. They ride on a snake? He thought. Man, I'm glad we made it in time, Reaver said just as the snake beast stopped moving right in front of them. Ning looked at the beast that was fully made up of metal and had steam coming from all around it. There were also openings all around the side of the snake and he could see people through this opening. Oh, he said as he finally realized what the snake was and felt so embarrassed that he wanted to go hide somewhere else. Come on, brother. The train is here, Reaver said and got onto the train. Ning looked at the train in front of him, and while it looked different from the ones in his memories, it was still clearly a train. It's more like an older version from the 19th century, he thought. It had been close to 3,000 years since he had last seen trains at all, and given that the people of Vilmore didn't have any advanced technology the last time he was around, for some reason, he expected them to stay that way. When people's lifespan is short, the changes tend to come very fast, don't they? He thought. Just because cultivators didn't die, their tradition and values kept going on for thousands of years, and since they dictated the world, the mortals couldn't bring innovation as the other worlds did. In Vilmore, however, even the highest of the invokers or enchanters could only live for at most 500 years. That wasn't enough to keep the progress of a planet stagnant. Brother Ning, come on. The train will leave soon, Reaver said as he called him out again. Ah, yes, Ning said as he quickly walked into the train. He could suddenly feel the heat inside the metal mass from having to move around in the blisteringly hot sun. They walked to an empty seat and sat down opposite one another. After a minute or so, the train started moving once more as steam escaped from all around it. Ning could feel the vibrations from inside, a unique feeling to him even though he had felt it quite a few times in his last life. The train whistled once more and they started moving again. It should take us about 2 hours to reach the City of Beginnings. Just get your money ready. The train conductor will come at any moment, Reaver said. Oh, okay, Ning said. How many rops is it? Reaver looked at him with a weird look and asked, what's a rop? You don't know rop? Ning asked. Shit, did that change too? He thought. He quickly checked in with the system and realized that the currency had changed by now as well. This time, it was something called sills and goals. That definitely doesn't sound like silver or gold at all, Ning thought sarcastically. Sorry, I meant, what is the price of the ticket for the 2-hour ride? Ning asked. It's 3 coins, Reaver said. 3 sills? Ning asked. Of course, don't you have the money? Reaver asked as he looked at him with a scrutinizing look. No, I do. Why would I not? Ning asked and silently had the system make some sills and goals for himself. He acted like he was reaching into his pocket and brought out 3 sills. Oh, they're already on paper money, huh? Ning thought in surprise as he saw the paper notes floating inside his inventory. I wonder why they haven't still used ether ores as a form of currency like spirit stones. It must still be very hard to find, he thought. The train conductor came by and took their money before handing them a ticket. Ning looked at the small ticket with words printed on it and was surprised how far along Vilmore had come. I wonder if they have telephones and radios already. When did cars come on Earth again? Those should be made here already, right? He thought. He watched the view outside as the train took a long curve towards the right and moved up north. Man, I hate this place, Reaver complained as he opened the uppermost button of his shirt and used a paper fan to wave air to himself. From the looks of it, he was also feeling very hot. And yet you still come here, Ning said with a chuckle. Well, we have to do what we can for money, don't we? He asked. That's fair. By the way, I wanted to ask you something. I saw you buying those items from those people for a few coins. For example, you bought that one man's pots for 1 coin each, but even the train ticket costs 3 coins. Are you ripping them off? Ning asked. What? Reaver exclaimed. How preposterous, of course, I don't rip them off at all, he said. Oh, but from what I saw, you sold bags of grains for almost 10 coins each. Is that not ripping them off? Ning asked. Oh, of course not. I negotiate prior to every sale. I only pay what my customers are happy with, Reaver said. Do you not profit on those items at all? Ning asked. I mean, of course, I do. What sort of business would I be running if I made no profit, Reaver said. How high are your profit margins from these trips? Ning asked. Reaver got a little defensive and looked at Ning angrily. Hey, I was just asking, Ning said. I don't mind if you rip them off, as long as they aren't negatively impacted by it. Just having you go there every time must already be a huge help to them. Reaver looked at him with a concerned face and asked, Are you not lying? No, of course not. I saw those happy faces in the village. Not a single one of them seemed to be struggling at all. However, I don't know if that would have been the case if you didn't go to sell goods to them, Ning said encouragingly. Yes, that's right. While I may not pay them what it's worth, they're happy with what they get, Reaver said. Right, if they don't complain, you are fine, Ning said. Ning sighed in relief after seeing Reaver lose his anger. Phew, I would have lost myself a guide around this place if I kept it up any longer, Ning thought. The train ride went along and little by little, Ning could feel the air in the train getting cooler. If only we could open the window without letting the sand in, he said softly. That would be so much better than just constantly waving these fans to me, Reaver said as he continued waving the paper fans. Can't you just get the fans to wave you by themselves? As an enchanter, you should be able to do at least that much, right? Ning asked. No, Reaver said meekly. I don't have enough ether in me to keep it going for long. What I had, I mostly used it during the storytelling back in the village. But you were so accurate with the figures of the sand. It felt like I was actually looking at real people moving around a lot of the time, Ning said. You have a lot of talent. Sigh, what good is talent without any potential, brother Ning? No matter how much I try, I can never get myself to get better than an ether student. Sigh, I have given up on becoming better at using ether. Now I just want to become a merchant, and earn as much money as I can, Reaver said. Talent without potential, huh? I can understand a bit of what you mean. I am in fact the exact opposite, brother Reaver. I have potential, but no talent at all. So despite having ether, I can't really use it as well, Ning said. Oh, Reaver said with a bit of surprise. If you don't have talent, but you have potential, then you have nothing to worry about, brother Ning. Just go practice a bunch, and very soon you should be able to use it as well as the others do. I suppose that's true, Ning said. I really haven't given the practice aspect very much focus in all these years. What are you, brother Ning? An invoker or an enchanter? Reaver asked curiously. I am an invoker, a very bad one though, Ning said. A bad invoker is still better than a dud, I guess. That way, you won't get into trouble when you go out of the Xandria Empire, Reaver said. Eh, dud? Ning asked. Meaning? A dud, you know. Someone who isn't capable of using the ether arts, Reaver explained. Be glad that you can use it. Why would it be a problem if I can't use it? That doesn't mean I'm less of a human, right? Ning asked. You sure are ignorant of the world for someone who wishes to roam it, Reaver said. It doesn't matter to the ether users what you think. Since they are stronger, they make the rules and hold the authority. So, do the people with no awakening get treated badly here? Ning asked. Oh no, not in Xandria. You will be fine in Xandria since the Emperor doesn't allow diversity as a factor of bias in the citizens. Whether you have the ability to use ether or not, you will be treated equally here. That's one of the reasons why Xandria is considered safe haven amongst the duds, Reaver said. Unfortunately, the Empire can only hold so many people, so the borders don't allow as much entry as it used to. I guess I will see how they are treated when I leave Xandria. I should be able to stay here for a little while though, Ning said. How old are you by the way? You look awfully young for someone with medical knowledge, Reaver asked. Oh, yeah. I get that a lot. I'm 25 years old right now, but I look 18. My friends always called me out for looking too young. Something much is wrong with my body, but the other doctors found nothing, Ning casually lied. Well, at least you can keep looking young for a lot longer than us. Sigh, I wish I could be young again. With all the energy of the youth I was, who optimistically went to the Ether Tower to take the exam. I might have been doing something else if I didn't fail back then, Reaver said as he recalled the bitter event from his past. Ether Tower. Is that a place where you learn the ether arts? Ning asked. How do you not know what an ether tower is? All countries and empires have them. Brother Ning, have you been living under a rock? Reaver asked. Something like that. My parents were extremely conservative and didn't let me learn about the world at all. That was one of the reasons why I decided to leave my practice as a medical professional and went out to roam the world. Unfortunately, I simply went straight down to the very bottom of the continent to start my way, so you could think of this as my beginning in the world, Ning said. You're a little weird, Brother Ning, Reaver said. Ning simply smiled and said nothing. Suddenly, the scenery outside of the train changed and they were no longer in the desert, but at a place where Ning could see many trees and bushes all around. There was even a source of water, flowing like a river. Phew, finally, Reaver said as he stopped fanning himself and opened the window. The air that entered was still hot, but it was a lot cooler by comparison. Is it summer? Why is it so hot? Ning asked. Yeah, it's summer, unfortunately. So we will have to suffer the sun for quite a while longer, Reaver said. I can't wait to go back to the cool air of the city. Oh right, Reaver said as he remembered. You're an invoker, right? Then you should be able to make some ice for us. I would really love to have some ice to play with. Just a tiny piece. You can make them too, right? Just freeze the water you have, Ning said. I don't have ether to do that right now, Reaver said. I will need to go eat some ether tablets to do that. I guess I can try. I can't promise I can properly make ice though. This is my first time after all, Ning said. Oh, then be careful. Remember, ice is just water that's frozen. Just imagine cold water that's solid, Reaver said. I know what ice is, Ning said. Oh right, you came from way south. I forgot. I was just helping you with the imagination part, but I don't think you will need any help, Reaver said. Ning took a deep breath and brought forth his arm. He then closed his eyes and remembered back to the time he first came out of the treasury in the southern continent. That time when he was in Freya's sword. The moment he walked out of the room, everything around him was all white. The massive amounts of ether in his sea of ether started moving, bubbling as it evaporated and started doing what Ning thought of. Ning remembered the coolness in the air, the fog in the air, the steam when people breathed, and finally, the white snow. Bridge, Ning still remembered it all. Brother Ning, Reaver loudly called him. Ning opened his eyes and looked in front of him. In between him and Reaver, there was a pile of snow that came up to his ankles. I said just a small piece. Why are you making this many? Reaver asked. Oh, sorry. I told you I don't have much talent in using the ether arts. At least we have coolness now, right? Ning asked. Reaver held his cold feet up on the seat. Damn, you really do have a lot of potentials. But you need a lot of practice, he said as he looked down on the snow. Looking at this, you must be an ether master, right? Reaver asked. Haha, I couldn't hide it from you, could I? Ning said. Sigh, you really didn't. Also, you made a mess of this place. Let's quickly clear this or it will melt and cause a lot of problems, Reaver said and waved his hands to bring up as much snow as he could before throwing it far out of the window. Ning got down as well and picked up the snow with his own hands and started throwing it out. Once he was done, there was no more snow, but the place they were at was considerably cooler. The rest of the journey would be much simpler now with this. The train moved through massive grassland and meadows with people and animals in it. They were getting closer and closer to civilization once again. We're finally here, Reaver said as he watched out of the window. Ning had seen houses nearby already, so he too knew he was close. The train suddenly passed by another train and slowly came to a stop at another station. The whistles were loud and the steam released once more as it finally stopped. "Let's go," Reaver said as he stood up from his seat and started walking to the door. Ning quickly followed and they both walked out. "Oh yeah, your ticket, take it out. We will have to show them here," Reaver reminded and took out his own ticket. Ning took his ticket out as well and stopped to look all around him. As he was finally in the city, he got to see what these modern people actually looked like. The men and women all around him wore very similar clothes. The men mostly wore shirts and pants with a coat on top, while the women wore long gowns that flowed all the way to the floor. The men all had top hats and some even had monocles. Some also wore purple-colored jewels on their fingers and wrists, while others did not. The women on the other hand all wore jewelry on them. Some were purple in color, but most were not. The women also wore white gloves that came up to their elbows and a hat on their head of a similar color. They had their hairs in a bun and were also holding a parasol to stay away from the sun. Compared to the men, the women were the ones wearing the most vibrant of colors. It seemed that the tradition of old didn't exactly go away despite the world getting modern. At least, there was less of a divide amongst people here, so that was something. "Brother Ning?" Reaver shook him a little to get him to focus. "Oh, sorry. I was just looking at the people. It seems that I would stand out a bit if I don't change very quickly," Ning said. "Oh yeah, you should. Your clothes aren't exactly the most usual around here. You have money, right? I can introduce you to a tailor. They can make some clothes for you," Reaver said. "Thank you, Brother Reaver," Ning said. They soon walked on as Ning hid his gaze from the many people that stared at him for how weirdly he was dressed. "I should have known this would happen. I should prepare a lot of clothes for afterward," he thought. Looking like a cultivator in a world of mortals wasn't the smartest idea Ning had up to now. Ning and Reaver handed over their tickets and walked out of the intersection of the train station. Finally, going past many people, they appeared out in the open on a busy street full of people that walked around, doing their own thing in their own life. Ning saw horse-drawn carriages getting people across the town. He could also see electricity poles going across the roads with light bulbs on them. This planet had truly gotten industrialized, way more than he could imagine. "Welcome to the City of Beginnings, Brother Ning." "Whoa, I didn't expect the city to be this developed," Ning said silently as he looked at the almost modern city. Ning could see people walking down the street, people in carriages, people in bicycles, all in their own little life. He was on the side of the street, in front of the train station looking at the changed world. A carriage rushed past him in a swift manner. It was close to hitting him, but the driver at the front seemed to know his limit. "Oh, that carriage doesn't have a horse drawing it. Is there an engine in it?" Ning asked, wondering if this was the first of the cars that would soon become prevalent. "Engine? No, those carriages are expensive ones that have enchanters moving them. Only the rich ones use them," Reaver said. "Are they better than horse-drawn carriage? I don't see the point," Ning asked. "Well, for one, the driver has more control than just having a horse drawing it. Other than that, it's just the rich people's way of showing off, saying they can even get ether art users to do things for them. But it pays well, so the drivers don't really mind, I guess," Reaver said. Could you do that if you wanted to?" Ning asked. Maybe. But I never had the interest to do it," Reaver said. "Anyway, let's go. I need to sell this stuff and go home." "Ah, okay," Ning said and started following Reaver. They walked through the crowded streets along the sidewalk, walking past the many buildings that were selling something or offering something. The buildings were so big that Ning couldn't see anything past his immediate vicinity and would have to fly in the air if he wanted to get a better view. "The weather is a lot cooler here, isn't it?" Ning asked. "Yeah, we're not in the desert anymore, so it's a little cooler. But it's still quite hot," Reaver said. "You southerner must not be used to this much heat, right?" "Yeah, it is always cool down there," Ning said, remembering the days when he lived with Famir and the rest. Haha, just wait for another 6 hours, you will get your cool air back," Reaver said. "Oka. Wait, 6 hours?" Ning asked as he looked up at the sun. From what he could tell, the sun was already way past noon. "What's the time right now?" Ning asked. Reaver reached into his pocket and brought out a pocket watch that he flipped open to look at the time. "It's 5 in the afternoon. Why?" Reaver asked. "It's 5 and the sun is still going to be up for another 6 hours. How?" Ning asked. "Sigh, you southerners must have it easy with your short and cool days. We here have to suffer nearly 24 hours of sunlight in a day, barely getting 12 hours of nighttime to cool off," Reaver said. "But don't worry. The insides of the buildings will be cooler, so you won't have to worry about heat at all. Some of them even stay cool for all 36 hours of the day. Sigh. I wish they ran that way for all 5 days of the week though, Reaver said. Ning was flabbergasted. 36 hours a day, 5 days a week. Was it always like this? He thought. From what he could remember, this was not the case the last time he was here. At the very least, a week was 7 days long. However, it seemed that had changed over the last 2,500 years that he was gone. System, give me the information about dates and times of this planet, Ning said, quickly trying to learn what he had missed. The system gave him the information and he started to learn what it had said. The planet of Vilmore had a slow speed of rotation compared to Earth. So, a day here lasted 35 hours, 59 minutes, and 55 seconds. A week consisted of 5 days, and none of the days were named at all. Instead, the people of Vilmore referred to them by their number in the week. The first day was called the first day of the week, the second day was called the second day of the week, and so on. The thing that shocked him the most was that there was no month in the Sarian calendar, which was established by the Sarian Empire to the west. Ning was a little confused at first as to why they wouldn't use months, but the answer came very soon, which shocked him a little. Planet Vilmore only took 100 days to go around its sun. Meaning, in a year there would only be 20 weeks at most. So, they didn't really need to implement a system for the month. System? Ning called, worried about something. Now that the days are 36 hours long, does that mean my cap cooldown will also change to reflect the same? He asked. No, the timer for your cap is based on an average day for planets in the multiverse. Most planets tend to have 24 hours a day, so the cap reflects on that. Oh, phew. That's good. Still, 100 days around the sun, huh? I never knew that. I focused way too much on the energy aspect of the planet, and not the others, Ning thought. But why did they change? This, Sarian Empire. Was there a need for it? Ning continued reading all the information that was available to him. Unfortunately, there was nothing like that available to him through the information he had just gotten. So, he instead asked the system. System, when exactly did this calendar system change? And why it changed too, Ning asked. The calendar system changed about 285 years ago. The reasoning for the change was to remember the day when the planet faced destruction as it had never before, when the peak of afterlife exploded. Ning's eyes went wide as he said, the peak of afterlife exploded? Wait, what? What do you mean the peak of afterlife exploded? How? When? Ning asked, and the system answered. The blood left his face and his face turned ghastly white as he listened to what the system said. It happened, because of me? Ning asked. When he had brought Hi-C up to the portal and he had exploded, the portal inside was destroyed as well. That let out shockwaves that made earthquakes and tsunamis all around the world. Many weak houses and buildings fell, leaving people without homes. The majority of the desert was taken over by the ocean water. Many people died. When Ning learned this information, he felt a chill go down his spine because of it. How many people died? He asked. 23,144 in total died. Over 500,000 were injured. Ning had expected the number to be high, but not this high. For some reason, he didn't feel any sort of remorse or sadness over this death, despite them being his fault. Due to the deaths being so high, they just looked like numbers to him instead of lives that were lost. Did not having amplified emotion make me callous? He wondered. Just then, he remembered something and asked the system. Wait, if I killed that many people, all of whom were innocents, then why didn't I get punished? Did the system change? Ning asked. No, the deaths that happened were not your intention when you did what you did. So the system does not punish you for things out of your power. Still, sigh. This sucks. The world changed calendar because I overlooked something in a hurry, Ning thought. I wonder if something terrible happened in Kumiya too. Although, the explosion took place on this side of the portal, so they should be okay, Ning said. Ning wanted to talk to them right now, but unfortunately, he couldn't communicate with people out of the planet, unless he bought something specifically for that. Brother Ning! Brother Ning! Reaver called out. Sorry, what? Ning asked as he brought his attention back to the conversation. Where do you disappear from time to time? Do you really hate the sun so much that just having it for 6 more hours pains you? Reaver asked. Don't worry, the heat will start to get milder in just 2 to 3 hours. Besides, we will be in buildings with cool air soon, so you won't have to worry. Oh, that's great, Ning said with a smile. Reaver took him about 2 blocks of buildings over, where Ning saw a small market was set up on the side of the streets. The whole street was blocked off from vehicles going in and people set up vendors all over it. "What are we doing here?" Ning asked. "Oh, I'm going to sell the stuff I got from the village here. Hope you won't mind waiting around for a little longer. There is stuff here that I can't just sell in normal stores," Reaver said. "Oh, okay. Please do so," Ning said and went along with him. Reaver took out a large cloth and laid it on an open space that he seemed to have reserved beforehand. He brought out a few items from inside his storage bracelet and placed them all on the sheet. Once everything was out in the sheet, he too sat down behind them and started shouting. Come on, come on. Buy the best products handcrafted by the people of the sand. You will not find these masterpieces anywhere else. Buy them for yourself. Buy them for your wife. Buy them for your mistress. Buy it while you can, because after they are sold, you will not find these ever again. Ning stood a little behind, watching Reaver do his work. He kept on shouting, calling the customers towards him. Many looked towards him and his items, but none came to buy any. Ning expected him to get hopeless at the situation, but somehow Reaver managed to keep his energy high, calling out more and more customers. Ning fully expected to have to wait for quite a while, but in just a few moments, Reaver had his first customer. A girl wearing a blue gown walked up to him. He held a parasol in her hands that seemed to have about the same number of frills as her gown. "Oh my God! These are so beautiful," the woman said as he looked at the pottery and trinkets that were laid on the sheet. Reaver gave a wide smile. "Do you like it, miss?" he asked. "Oh yes, very much. These are gorgeous," she said and was starting to get a little teary-eyed. "My father was a potter and woodworker. I remember him making stuff like this for me when I was a child. These remind me of exactly that," the girl said. Reaver took the opportunity and loudly said, "These are the best of the best items, miss. Handcrafted by the master workers in the north. These are one of a kind and you will likely not see these for a very long time." "Oh, is that so?" the girl asked excitedly. "Let me buy some then. Give me that earring and that bracelet please. This and this. These two will be 9 coins in total. 3 for the earrings and 6 for the bracelet," Reaver said. "Oh my God, so cheap. Here you go." The woman took some coins out from her purse and handed it to Reaver. Reaver handed her the 2 items and loudly expressed his thankfulness. During these times, a small crowd had formed around Reaver, who were all curiously looking at the items he was selling. Reaver once again started saying out loud how good the items were and how glorious their origin was. Ning watched in shock as in just 5 minutes, all but a few of Reaver's items had been fully sold. And he even sold them at a 2 to 3 times higher price from what he bought it at, Ning thought. Reaver continued to bring out items from his storage and in the next half an hour, managed to sell almost all of it. "I think that's the most I should be able to sell. I will have to keep the rest for next time," Reaver said. From what Ning could tell, Reaver had made close to 600 sils in profit just today. "What's the average salary around here?" Ning asked. "Average salary? Maybe around 300 coins every 5 weeks? 100 coins are minimum wage, so 300 sounds about average. I'm sorry, brother Ning, I don't work a salary job so I don't exactly know it," Reaver said. "My God! This man made double of what everyone else makes 5 weeks in just a day," Ning thought. "All right, let's go sell the rest," Reaver said as he stood up and took back the sheet and the few items in it. "What will you do for these ones you couldn't sell?" Ning asked. Reaver smiled and said, "Next time." They walked out of the small street and walked some more before they reached a building a block away. The building was completely gray, with no color on it whatsoever, the same as all the rest of the buildings around the neighborhood. "Is color a commodity here?" Ning asked. "Kind of, yes," Reaver said. "Since we are the furthest from the Sarian Empire, it's hard to find any sort of color that isn't for the clothes." "I see," Ning said. "The plants I introduced, could Famir and the rest not keep it going?" It must have been destroyed during the peak's explosion. It was the closest place after all." Reaver entered the building and Ning followed behind. As soon as he entered, Ning felt a slight shiver from the temperature difference between the outside and the inside. "Oh, it's really cool in here," Ning said as he rubbed his arms a bit. "See, I told you the heat would go away soon," Reaver said with a chuckle. "Come on, let me sell this stuff, and then we can go to the tailor I told you about. It's only 2 buildings away." Ning nodded and followed. The inside of the building wasn't any grand looking. However, since it was made up of concrete, It certainly gave the modern feel that Kumiya never had. Reaver reached a food shop and spoke to the owner before selling the dates he had acquired, which were apparently considered exotic in this place. Ning watched Reaver get 5 paper money for those dates and was quite a bit shocked. 5 goals were equal to 500 sils, which were 200 sils more than the average salary, and he had just made them by selling the dates at 3 times the price he had bought them in. Reaver thanked the owner and walked out with a massive smile on his face. How many bags of date was that? Ning asked. About 40 bags, Reaver said. Wow, 500 sils for 40 bags. You really hit the jackpot with your job, Ning said. But I'm confused about one thing. Why are these dates considered exotic? Can't these people just go to the desert and get them? Oh, they can. But will they? You have to know that the dates grow far to the north where no human civilization exists. Even the villagers around there have to walk for a really long time to get to these. Since they don't know these fruits' value, they don't really get them as much, and so, it's now considered exotic, Reaver said. I see, Ning said. And you don't tell them to get more because that would lower its market value here, I assume? Obviously, Reaver said. Come, let's change your outfit to match the people. Everyone keeps staring at you wherever you go. The two walked into another building of the same design and same gloomy aesthetic. As soon as they entered, Ning could see a fancy clothing shop with gowns and suits in mannequins on display. People went in and out of the store that held a lot of employees. Reaver walked in first and Ning behind him. Reaver looked around a bit and saw someone. Hey, boss. I brought you a customer, he shouted from one end of the store to the another. On the other side of the store was a tall, bulky man that if anything looked like a body cultivator to Ning. He was wearing a rough-looking suit that tightly fit his body, but wore no hat like most others did. He had a short stubble on his chin as well as some light mustache, however, his head held no hair. For some reason, this made him look more threatening than his job would make him be. The man turned around and saw Reaver. One moment, he said in a deep voice and got back to helping the customer he currently had. Reaver walked up to the boss and Ning followed behind him. The boss was just done with the customer when they arrived and turned around. I haven't seen you in a while, kid. You doing good? He asked. Absolutely, boss, Reaver said. How's business going? Very well, I hope. Ah, it's the same old, isn't good, isn't bad. Just like I want it to be, the boss said. You might be the only person in this city that does not want their business to grow at all, boss, Reaver said. I'm just looking to live the rest of my life without any worries at all, the boss said. Anyway, why did you come here? And, who's he? The boss looked up and down at Ning, confused at what exactly he was wearing. Right, this is someone I met today. His name is Ning and he's from the south. He seems to be traveling and wants clothes so that he doesn't stand out in what he's wearing here, Reaver said. The boss looked at the cloth and asked, what type of cloth is that even, anyway? I've never seen or heard of something like that. It looks more like a bathrobe than anything. It's a robe all right. It's something the people wear where I come from, Ning said. And where would that be? The boss asked curiously. Somewhere very far away, Ning said. He said he was from around the peak of Afterlife, Reaver said. Peak of Afterlife? I don't remember those people wearing these sort of clothes, the boss said. Did they start doing that recently perhaps? I've been wearing this ever since I was born, I guess, Ning said. Maybe. You don't look that old. All right, what exactly do you want? A pair of suits and pants? The boss asked. Let's make that 3 pair please, Ning said. All right, come over here. Let me take your measurements, the boss said. Ning walked up to him and stood in front of him. The boss was a hulking tower in front of him with his massive body. He looks more like a butcher than a tailor, Ning thought. The boss grabbed a measuring tape and started taking measurements. Ning waited until all of his dimensions were recorded. All right, now come choose the fabric, the boss said. Ning nodded and walked with him to look at the different types of fabric there were. Ning ended up choosing 2 different types of fabric, one very smooth, and one just slightly rough. He also chose some white fabric for shirts to wear underneath as well. As for a hat, Ning didn't want to use it at all. Okay, let's see 3 suits, 4 shirts, 3 pants. Altogether, they will cost you around 120 sils. 50 sils for the cloth, and 70 for the labor, the boss said. Should I pay you now or later? Ning asked. Pay me half now if you can. I can't have the product go to waste in case you decide to never come to pick it up, the boss said. Okay. Ning said and brought out 60 sills from his storage. The boss nodded as he recognized Ning as an ether user. All right. Come back in a week. They should all be ready by then, the boss said. Thank you, Ning replied. I'll leave now, boss. Take care, Reaver said. Okay. You take care of yourself too. Take care of the little girl too. Don't let her work too hard. You already make enough money, the boss said. Haha, I will, Reaver said as he waved his hands and walked out of the door. Ning followed behind, wondering what he should do next. Have you planned anything for what you will be doing next, Brother Ning? Reaver asked. I think I will go find myself a tavern or a hotel to stay at before it gets dark, Ning said. We have time. Don't worry, there are plenty of hotels around here, Reaver said. Just then, Ning's stomach growled a bit. It had been years since he had eaten anything in the forest. Due to him going in and out of the spear to collect energy, it had been just a few days for him that he hadn't eaten. Still, since he wasn't a cultivator anymore, the hunger and fatigue that came with a human body accumulated very quickly for him. Oh, have you not eaten anything today? Reaver asked. You must be hungry. Come, I know just the right place for you. Oh, then I will have to thank you once more, Brother Reaver, Ning said. The two walked out of the building and started walking towards the east. After going past a few blocks, Reaver finally came to stop in front of a shop. Ning could smell the scent of freshly baked bread coming from inside the store. Even without looking at it, he had realized that it was a bakery. Reaver walked into the said bakery, and Ning followed behind. Golden Flower. That was the name of the bakery Ning had just walked into. The freshly baked bread scent wafted on his nose, and his stomach growled once again, reminding him of his hunger. It was late afternoon right now, but the number of people was quite high. I thought bakeries only got this many people during the morning, Ning thought. Sigh. Look at them, Reaver said, referring to the many men and women getting in line to buy some bread. They work hard and don't even have time to cook for themselves. If only they knew how tasty a homemade meal was. Well, I can't complain since this just helps her business even more, Reaver said. Although, it seems we arrived during the busy hours, Brother Ning. We will have to wait for a little while before we get some food for ourselves. Ning didn't mind. He had already waited this long. Just a few more minutes was nothing. He looked around at the staff that was selling the bread in what looked like bags made up of rags. They were all females and wore an apron over their white shirt, and wore a hat on their heads. Slowly, but surely, the number of people lessened by a lot. Then, a woman came out from the back of the bakery and walked directly towards them. Ning looked at the girl that felt very familiar to him. She came up to the table where they were seated and pouted. What took you so long? I waited forever. The soups went cold. Do you want cold soup? She asked with a fake angry face. Reaver laughed and said, honestly, a cold soup might not be a bad idea in this hot climate. No, just wait. I'm reheating it. It will be done in a few minutes, the girl said. Ning looked at the girl, still wondering where he had seen her. Her apron and shirt gave nothing away. Even her black hair in a bun behind her hat looked like everyone else. Still, the face. Ah, it's you, he said in surprise. The one who bought his first item. All right, I forgot to introduce you. This is someone I met out in the desert today. He's called Ning, Reaver introduced him. Then he turned towards Ning and said. This is my wife, Lisa. Oh, I remember now. I saw you today too. Your clothes were unique, so it caught my eyes. Hello, Lisa said. Hello, Ning said, clearly embarrassed for randomly shouting out loud. Right, can you get some food for him too? Reaver asked. Sure. Wait a few minutes, I'll be right back, she said and left. Ning looked back towards Reaver and asked, you got your wife to buy your items? Oh yeah, she acts like she knows a lot about what I bring and the people naturally start believing her. Before you know it, they all end up buying my items, Reaver said. Well, she certainly can act well. I didn't even notice anything wrong when she said the things she said back then, Ning said. Right? Sometimes even I get caught up in her lies and end up believing them. I tell her that she can become an actress in the theater if she wanted to, but she never agrees at all, Reaver said. Oh, there are theaters here? I should go visit some soon, Ning said. Yes, there's one quite close from here, you can go watch it every 5th day of the week, Reaver said. In just a few minutes, Lisa walked out from the back with a plate full of bread and 3 bowls of soup. She placed the soup in front of Ning and Reaver, and sat down next to Reaver before putting the final soup in front of her. As for the bread, she put it at the center so that everyone could reach for it. Dig in, brother, Reaver said and picked up one of the big bread before ripping it into two and handing one half to his wife. Ning did the same and took the bread and ripped it in half. He placed the half back onto the plate and was about to chew on the bread in his hand when he saw the two tear off a small piece of it and plunged it into the soup in front of them. What the hell? He thought. Is this tea? He looked down at the soup and clearly saw the onions floating inside. But even so, he saw the two of them eat the bread that was soaked in the soup. Reaver was even making faces like he was enjoying the food. Bread dipped in soup? I've never eaten anything like that, have I? He thought. He didn't have many memories from the time when he wasn't an energy. His times before reincarnation was vague and he only knew tidbits at most. It had come to the point where he had completely forgotten even his parents' own faces, so, he assumed that he might have seen something like this before, but just forgot about it. Let's try it before I judge it, he thought and did the same as they did. He ripped a piece of the bread and dipped it in the soup. He hesitated for a bit, but still took a deep breath and ate it. The moment he ate it, the salty soup and the sweet bread intermingled into becoming something that was of great delight. It wasn't the tastiest food he had eaten by a long shot. That belonged to a meal he had in the southern continent of planet Kumia during the 300 years he wandered there. Still, this was very tasty for it was his first meal in this new body. This is really good, he said to the two. Of course it is. My wife made it after all, Reaver said. Stop, you're making me embarrassed, Lisa said. She then turned to Ning and said, eat up. You'll need to eat more if you want to grow healthy. Reaver stopped eating and turned to look at his wife. Dear. He might look like a 40-year-old, but he's actually older, he said. I'm 50, Ning said with a smile from the side. Huh? What? Lisa said with surprise. He's the same age as me. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I thought you were much younger. How do you manage to look so young? She asked. I don't know. Genetics, I guess? Ning said without giving it much thought. Reaver and Lisa both looked at each other with confused expressions. What's genetics, brother Ning? Reaver asked. Does that mean luck? Huh? Genetics it's, sorry. It means something like passed on through my family. Hereditary or bloodline even, Ning said. I see. That's a word I've never heard before, Reaver said. Yes. So I'm saying that my youthfulness isn't uncommon in my family, Ning said. They continued talking as they ate the rest of the food. Finally, once they were done, Lisa stood up. All right, I need to go back to finishing up the work. I will be out in half an hour or so, she said and picked up the plates. Thank you for the food, Miss Lisa. How much will I have to pay you? Ning asked. It's all right. You don't have to pay anything, Lisa said. But won't the bakery's boss get mad if they find out you gave us food without permission? He asked. Oh, don't worry about that, brother Ning. Lisa owns half of the bakery. The other half is owned by the woman who owns this building. They were an amicable relationship, and she lets Lisa do whatever she wants with the bakery as long as it's bringing in results, Reaver said. I'll see you, boys, later. Lisa picked up the plates and walked away. Thank you, Ning said as he looked in her direction as she was entering the room to the back. Just then, he noticed something about Lisa that he hadn't before. From the back, he could see that her hair was blonde at the roots around her neck. People already dye their hair here, huh? He thought. Let me go show you a hotel, brother Ning, Reaver said. Okay. Let's go, Ning said and stood up. They walked out of the Golden Flower and walked a few blocks down towards the west. Along the way, Ning noticed a building with words written on a whiteboard on top. Oh, is that the theater? He asked. Yes. This is the one. I wish my wife worked here, but she likes working in the bakery so it's fine I guess, Reaver said. Just a few minutes later, the two of them reached in front of a hotel. All right, brother Ning. This is the hotel. You can stay here, Reaver said. I will take my leave for now. Go in and rest. If you ever want to find me, just come to the bakery. 9 times out of 10, I will be in there just sitting around. Thank you, brother Reaver. For everything you've done for me today. I will surely return this favor sometime soon, Ning said. Don't fret it. Anyone would do such simple things. You didn't even get in my way at all. Just go in and rest. I will talk to you later, Reaver said. Thank you again, Ning said and walked inside. He then met with the registrar at the front desk and got himself a room in the hotel. He didn't know how long he was going to stay around for, so he decided to buy it for 2 weeks for now. Your room is on the 3rd floor. Thank you for choosing our hotel, the registrar said to Ning. Ning nodded and took his keys before walking towards the stair he saw over at the corner. Before he reached there, however, he heard a sound from over to his left and saw a chain gate open. When it opened, it revealed a small metal compartment behind it, with 3 people in it. One of them was a staff member who seemed to work in there, and the other 2 were a man and a woman. The man had a well-built body and was wearing the regular suit and pants, but for some reason, he had his head on a bow in front of the young lady. Honestly, why does my father even employ you when you can't do one simple job? She sounded angry. There was an annoyed pout on her face that didn't do anything for her pretty little face. The girl was wearing a sky blue gown, where the frill touched the ground, but he kept pulling it a little up as she walked. Her wide hat covered all of her head, but the black bangs still flowed down her left temple. I'm so sorry, miss, but you don't have to go. I will make sure to get the ticket right now, the person who seemed to be her servant said. And what? Sit amongst the peasants. No, I refuse. I will go there myself and find myself a nice little seat, the girl said. Miss, you don't have to go. We can do it ourselves, the servant said. No, I don't trust you guys at all. Unless I go there myself, I won't be satisfied. Now hurry up, she said and walked past Ning. Ning stepped to the side and let the 2 walk away. He then turned back to the elevator they had just come out of and said, so, even elevators are already made, huh? He walked in, completely forgetting the girl and the man he had just seen, and told the staff, 3rd floor please. Yes, sir, the staff said, side-eyeing his clothes. Damn, I really need to get changed soon, he thought. Once he walked out of the elevator, he made his way to his room down the hall. He opened the door to his room and found out that his room wasn't as simple as he had previously imagined. From what he could see, there were pipes going up the side of the wall on the inside, maintaining the temperature of the room. There was even a way to turn off the temperature regulation from what he could see but didn't know exactly how it worked. On the left side of the room was a bed fit for 2 people, and on the right was a night table that was also a closet to keep their clothes. Ning didn't really have anything, so he didn't even take an eye towards it. The air in the room was slightly chilly and he was more than tired, so as soon as he hit the bed, he pulled up his blanket and went to sleep. Within minutes, he slept like that was the best sleep he had ever had. No system, no timer, he slept through the night and even more. When he woke up the next morning, the time was already noon from the shadows his window made in his room. He woke up feeling refreshed like he hadn't in a long while. Geez, what's the time, system? Ning asked. It is 1 in the afternoon. I see. So I slept for like what, 18 hours? As soon as he asked, he realized he was mistaken. The days in this world were around 36 hours long. So, if he went to sleep at around 6 in the afternoon, he would have been asleep for nearly 30 hours. Holy shit. I didn't realize I was that tired, he thought. Being an ether user, I thought I would have at least some form of resistance to sleep as a cultivator would. The only time I've slept longer was back then after the incident at the Canaan house, wasn't it? He thought. That was also on this same planet. Sigh, I will need to keep my fatigue in check. At least until I get stronger as an ether user, he thought. He could feel his stomach slightly rumbling, so he decided to go out and eat. Wait, not in these clothes, he thought. He wanted to make cloth by himself, but that would cause problems with Reaver and the boss if they found him wearing suits and pants without ever buying them. I guess I should just wear a black robe and hope I can mingle enough that I don't get noticed as much, he thought and bought a black robe with white inside. The difference was obvious, but not very noticeable, so he gave it a pass. I wonder if the hotel takes care of my meals or I will have to go out to eat. I forgot to ask that, Ning thought. He walked out of the room and locked the door behind him. He then made his way to the elevator once more and waited for it to open. The chain gates opened once more and Ning noticed a different staff in there. To the ground floor please, Ning said. Sure, sir, the man said and pressed the button for the ground floor. Ning stood in the rattling elevator, waiting for it to reach the ground floor. No one in the second walked in, so he reached directly to the ground floor. The elevator gate opened and Ning was about to walk out when he saw the 2 from yesterday walk in. The girl seemed to be angry for some reason and the servant behind her was consoling her. Hello, Ning passively said as he stepped to the side for the 2 and walked on. As he was going out, he could hear the servant explaining. It happens, young miss. They just have to shut down sometimes for no reason. If the entire staff had an illness at the same time, there is nothing we can do about it, he explained. Besides, they told us they would make the next booking free, right? We can go in next week. I come all the way from. Ning walked too far away and the gates shut down, so he couldn't hear the rest of her words. He walked to the registrar and asked, "Hello, do you have a meal system around here for your guests?" "Yes, we do, sir. There will be supper in about 2 hours and dinner at around 8 in the evening. We will also have a night meal at around 14 if you would like that," he said. I'm hungry right now. Maybe I could go to Lisa's place and buy some food, he thought. It's fine, he said to the registrar and walked out of the door. He remembered his way back and noticed that people weren't looking at him anymore. Now that he was simply wearing black and white, no one was interested in looking towards him. It's such a shame, a man said to his wife as he walked right past Ning. I hope they're all right, the woman said. What's going on? He wondered and kept walking. On the way to the Golden Flower, he saw a major group of people staying outside the theater, demanding their money back. The theater people were trying to console the crowd, but most weren't having it. They just wanted their money back since the theater was cancelled at the last second. Ning lingered for just long enough to recognize that this was the reason why that girl back at the hotel was angry. I would be angry too if they didn't return my money back and instead said they would make that the ticket for the next week's one, he thought. He walked past them and made his way to the Golden Flower. Immediately he noticed that there were a significantly low number of people in the bakery. Is it because it's midday? Ning thought. He walked in and was genuinely surprised to see no one there except for the staff and Reaver, who was whispering with his wife on the side with him. Ning walked up to them and they noticed him coming. They immediately stopped whispering and Reaver spoke. Brother Ning, what are you doing here? I just woke up and was incredibly hungry, so I came to grab something to eat, he said. He then looked around the store and asked regarding the noticeably low number of people. What's going on? Is the store closed for tonight? He asked. Haven't you heard? Reaver asked. About what? Ning asked. About the theater, of course, Reaver said. Oh yeah, I heard, Ning said. Poor people, getting sick right before it was time for their performance. That much sucked quite a lot. But what does that have to do anything with you guys? Are you concerned about the theater too? He asked. Of course not, Lisa said loudly. We are more concerned about ourselves. Sorry, I don't follow, Ning asked with a confused face. Look, brother Ning. The Golden Flower is responsible for making food for the theater actors right before their performance. Unfortunately, this time for some reason, the people who ate our food got terribly sick and couldn't do anything. From what I hear, they keep on vomiting and having diarrhea, and the city had come to learn that it was from this shop, so no one is coming here anymore. Oh God, that sounds terrible, Ning said. Do you have any idea why that is happening? Are you sure that your bread is the cause? No, we have no idea what this could be happening, Lisa said with her eyes full of years. All we know is that the bread is definitely the cause. A few of our staff members ate some of the bread and they too have come down with the same illness as those actors, brother Ning, Reaver said. The door opened once more and an old man with a mustache and a top hat walked in, supported by a black cane. Mr. Hender, Lisa immediately stood up and wiped away her tears. Mr. Hender, we are so sorry for the... Reaver stood up to speak, but the old man put up his hand to get them to stop speaking. You don't have to explain anything, young lad. I know it was not you people's intention to cause problems for us. If possible, I would love to just let all of these problems be swept under the rug. However, the higher-ups are mad, and we can't let the incident go without some sort of compensation for the loss we suffered today, the old man said. Mr. Hender, but we, Reaver spoke. We don't have the sort of money to compensate a theater. I'm sorry, son. This is not up to me. Please do something about it by tomorrow, or we will have to take you all to court. The old man left just as soon as he came, but the damage he left behind was catastrophic to the two couples. Lisa started sobbing even more, and Reaver hugged her to console her. It's okay. I will find a way, he said. Ning watched the two of them cry and didn't know what to do. So, he walked up to one of the staff behind the counter and asked, Do you still have some of the bread? Bread? There aren't any right now, sir. We will make fresh bread in about an hour. You can come back at that time if you can, the girl said. Did you throw away the bad ones already? Ning asked. No, but we are going to throw them soon enough, the girl said. Ah, then it's fine. Just give me the bad one, Ning said. Sir? The girl asked in confusion. I'm not joking. Give me one of the bad bread please, he asked. I'm not sure I can do that, the girl said. Brother Ning, what are you doing? Reaver walked up to him after hearing the staff's worried voices. Oh, Brother Reaver. I was just asking for one of those bad bread that got everyone sick, Ning said. I would like to see what the problem truly is. How will you find out? Reaver asked. I will eat it of course. That's the easiest way, Ning said. I can't let you do that, Brother Ning. As we said, the bread is definitely the problem. You won't have to test for that, Reaver said. And do you know why they are the problem? Ning asked. No, Reaver said. And I heard that they are making the bread again. What if the problem was in the flour and not the cooking process? You will just cause more problems, Ning said. We didn't think about that, Reaver said. You need to think these things through, Brother Reaver. Let me have that bread. As I said, I'm a medical professional, so I can treat myself if I do in fact get ill, Ning said. Reaver thought for a bit and said, if you say so. Reaver asked the staff to bring out one of the bad bread and handed it to Ning. Please be absolutely sure before you do this, Brother Ning, Reaver said. Ning nodded, but there was no need for him to worry at all. With his enhanced body, there was a very low chance of him ever getting ill. Even normal venoms and poisons didn't hurt him as much since he could simply regenerate. Ning sat down on a desk and bit onto the bread without any hesitation. In just a couple of bites, he completely devoured the bread thanks to his hunger. Now, he just had to wait for a few minutes. Soon, he could hear his stomach growl a little, but that was the extent of that. He didn't even have to do anything, and it was okay on its own. So the bread really was the bad part, huh? Ning thought. System, what is wrong with the bread exactly? The bread is made using flour that includes wheat and a poisonous weed called darnel ryegrass. Darnel ryegrass? Give me some information on those, he asked. Soon, information entered his mind and he knew things he didn't know previously. From what he understood, darnel ryegrass was a wheat-like plant that was easy to mix up with wheat. They were poisonous weeds that if eaten caused a lot of different illnesses including painful limbs, stomachache, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. But these people should know by now what's bad and what's not, right? Ning thought. Brother Reaver, can you come here for a moment, he asked. Reaver came up to him and looked at his hands. You really ate the bread? He asked. Oh yeah. And it really was the problem too. Thankfully, I'm hard to make ill, so I'm fine, Ning said. Anyway, tell the staff to not make any more bread for now. If I'm not wrong, the problem is with the flour you guys have. Brother Ning, you know about bread and flour? Reaver asked. A little. If I'm not wrong, the flour your wife used has poisonous flour mixed into it. While it's not lethal, it can cause a lot of problems to the person who eats it, Ning said. If that is true, then I will have them stop right now, Reaver said and stood up to go to the back room. Lisa didn't know what was happening, but she soon learned about it when Reaver told her the problem after coming out from the kitchen. What? The problem is with the flour. But we've never had any sort of problems, Lisa said. Miss Lisa, do you know anything about darnel ryegrass? Ning asked. Lisa's eyes went wide. Poison ryegrass? Is that it? Is that what's causing the illness? She asked. Oh, you know about it. That makes it easier. Yes, if I'm not wrong, it's the ryegrass that's the problem, Ning said. But that should be impossible. Our suppliers would never make such a simple mistake, she said. Are you sure? Who are your suppliers? Ning asked. They're the Miller and Miller grain house, from the riverbank area. If what you said is true, then I should go talk to them, Lisa said. Lisa took off the apron she was wearing and got herself a parasol. Reaver also goes his coat and hat. Can I come with you guys? Ning asked. Sure, Brother Ning. You've been quite helpful, Reaver said. The three walked out of the store and made their way east towards the river. The river was what separated the main city from the suburban area with a lot of farmland. On the other side of the river was where the mill that produced their flour was located at. They crossed the bridge and walked to the mill. Ning could see a huge water wheel to the side of the mill that was likely running the grinder that ground up grains into flour. Lisa didn't stop for anything and directly went to the owner of the mill to explain everything to him. The owner was an old guy that profusely apologized after realizing what had happened. I am so sorry, young miss. I didn't know something like that had happened to you. If I had known the poison grain was mixed in, we would have never sold it to you. I don't know if apologies are going to cut. It's all right, Mr. Miller, Lisa said, cutting off Reaver mid-speech. I just hope you don't make the same mistake again. She turned around to walk away. Sigh, Lisa. You can't let everyone off the hook all the time, Reaver said. He's just as responsible for all of it as we are. And if the theater really does take us to court over this, then we will have to do the same to them. It's a mistake. If every mistake came with such a harsh punishment, then the world wouldn't be a fun place to live in. Let them be, we can handle the punishment for now, Lisa said and walked away. Come on, Lisa. We have to. Suddenly Reaver stopped speaking. Lisa, he called her. Lisa stopped, clearly annoyed. What? We don't need to talk about this anymore. No, not that, Reaver said. He then whispered something into her ear that made the color in her face drain away. She immediately opened her parasol and used it to shade away the sun. I'm sorry, Brother Ning. Something urgent has come up. I will see you later, Reaver said. He then turned around and walked in fast paces, leaving the area before Ning could even realize it. What's up with them? He thought. He then turned around to look at the mill once more. The entire city knew about the problem with golden flour to the point that no customers are coming in anymore, and they don't. Also, how exactly did the news about the cause of the illness being the bakery spread so soon? Ning wondered. There was something wrong with the events that had taken place today, and Ning was going to find out what was wrong. Hello. Ning greeted the owner of the mill, the man called Miller. He had decided to find out if his hunch was correct or not. Hello. Do you need something? The old man asked. Yes, just some answers, Ning said. Is your mill incapable of separating the ryegrass from the wheat? The old man was taken aback for a moment and finally realized that he had seen Ning just a few minutes ago. You were with that little miss from the golden flower, weren't you? What do you want? Do you want to drag our name down? It was an honest mistake, the old man said. Ning walked up to the old man and put his arms around his shoulder. He asked, was it? The old man's eyes changed and he replied, no, it wasn't a mistake. Ning's eyes brightened. His hunch was right. Then you did it knowingly? He asked. Yes, master. I personally added the ryegrass flour to the wheat this morning, the old man said with no hesitation. And why did you do it? Did you have some problems with them? Did they not pay in time? What was the reason? Ning asked. Nothing of that sort, master. I was just paid to do it, the old man said. Huh? Paid to? By who? Ning asked. I do not know. A man came to me at the crack of dawn and told me that if I did what he said, he would pay me handsomely, the old man said. And you did? Shame on you. Was it worth it? How much did you earn? Ning asked. That man gave me 10 goals, master, the old man said. 10 goals to betray the trust of a loyal customer. Quite the businessman you are. Where are the 10 goals? Ning asked. Right here, master, the old man brought out an old necklace from his chest pocket. Bring it out, Ning said. The old man nodded and brought out the 10 goals. Ning took the money and kept it for himself. Tell me, what did this man look like? Have you ever seen him before? I don't know. The man was wearing a scarf around his face and his eyes were hidden by his top hat. His voice wasn't the most recognizable either, so it could have been anyone, the old man said. Any guesses? Ning asked. Maybe it was the theater company from the west end of the city? They always come second to the one from the city center, so it could be that, the old man said. Sigh, I guess I will have to find out on my own, Ning said. Go back to what you were doing. I will call you if I ever need you again. Yes, master, the old man said and walked back into the mill. It was still a hot day with the sun up high in the sky, but Ning didn't seem to care for the heat as much. A rival theater company, huh? Could it be that? He wondered. Those could certainly be the culprit, seeing as how much of a loss the theater had suffered from this debacle. But something didn't sit straight with Ning, so he decided to find the answer without wasting any more time. System. Who was the person the old man was talking about? Ning asked. As easily as that, Ning found the exact information he was looking for. Oh, he said in surprise when he found out the identity of the person behind this whole thing. Give me more information, like current location, Ning asked. Soon, he got what he wanted, and from what he learned of the person, he could see where the motivation to do what they did came from. Ning felt his stomach growl once more. Damn, was that single bread not enough? I should have known. Well, Let's go kill two birds at once, he said and walked away. Just after a few minutes of walk, he came across a bakery that was not that far away from the Golden Flower Bakery. The number of people walking in and out of the bakery was an astounding many. With one of the nearby bakeries closed down, the other was suffering from the workload. Even as he walked in, Ning could see a long line of people waiting for their turn to get their bread. It was going to take a while to get his bread, but he could wait. After nearly 15 minutes, it was his turn to order. "Hello, can I get 2 pieces of bread please?" Ning said. 2 pieces of bread. Here you go. The lady at the counter wrapped up 2 loaves of bread in a paper bag and handed it to Ning. "Oh, and this one doesn't have ryegrass in it, right?" Ning asked as he paid for the bread. "Sorry." The lady looked confused. "I don't know what you mean, sir. I was asking if this bread had ryegrass mixed in it. My body can't handle that poisonous weed very well," Ning said. "Sir, we never make bread from ryegrass flour," the lady said. "Ah, I see," Ning said. "So you only put them in your rival's bread, huh?" The lady looked really surprised and tried hard to find her cool. Yes sir, you are blocking the line. Please let the other customers get their food." "Oh sure. I have nothing to do, so I will wait by the table until it isn't as crowded anymore," Ning said with a smile that said he knew about it all. Ning did as he said and sat down at the table close to the counter. He was genuinely hungry, so he started eating his bread without anything else but the water that was available at every table. From time to time, he looked towards the girl and smiled as he waved his hands towards her. Soon the number of people coming into the shop lowered to almost none and Ning finally stood up from his seat. The lady saw that and quickly ran to the back. Before Ning could do anything, 2 buff men walked out from the kitchen with dough rollers in their hands. The lady was hiding behind those 2 men and was saying something to them. The 2 men slowly slammed their rollers on their hands threateningly. "Come on guys, there's no need for violence. I just want your guys to own up to the truth and that will be all," Ning said. "What truth?" one of the men asked. "That you guys were behind the bad bread incident today at Golden Flower," Ning said. "Look, I already know that this lady dressed up as a man and went to the mill at the riverbank to ask them to poison their flour supply for the day. I also know that you were all in on it, so you can't make a single person a scapegoat here either," Ning said. "So, put down the rollers, and let's just talk." The 2 men's eyes shook from learning that their secret had gone out. If others found out, they would be in a lot of trouble. "What do we do?" one of the men asked. "I don't know," the other man said. He thought for a while and asked, "Who else knows about this?" "Right now? It's only me. But I'll soon tell the people from the Golden Flower, and hopefully, more people in the city will come to realize that it wasn't their fault for today's happening," Ning said. "Speaking of which, were you guys behind the rumors too? The information about the bread being the culprit for the illness spread real fast. Faster than it normally should." "He knows too much," the man said. He looked around to see if there were any customers in the store yet. Unfortunately, there were still some. "What? Looking to see if you can find me while I'm alone? Sure, let's go to your kitchen. We can talk there privately," Ning said with a smile. The 2 men felt lost at the suggestion. Why would anyone want to be out of public vision at a time like this? "Okay. Come," one of the men said and showed the way. Ning nodded and walked in without any care in the world. He saw the other bakers in the kitchen and nodded towards them. The other 2 men walked in and closed off his exit. The other bakers seemed to have realized what had happened and came surrounding him too. "Tell us what you want. Money? We can pay you handsomely if you will stay quiet," the man said. How much?" Ning asked. The man thought for a bit and said, "How about 300 sills? That should be enough, right?" Ning chuckled a bit when he heard that. "You can't be serious, right? You paid the miller fellow 10 golds, and you are going to skimp out on money right now?" he asked. The men's eyes went wide in surprise. "That Miller guy actually ratted us out. Wait, how did he even know it was us?" the man asked. "He didn't. I just found out on my own," Ning said. "Also, I was just joking with you all. I'm not going to accept any payment to keep quiet or anything. You will have to just suffer the consequences of your own action." Are you sure that's what you want to do?" the man asked, with the others slowly converging towards Ning. "Oh, absolutely," Ning said as he brought a single finger forward and moved it a little. Before anyone knew what had happened, all the various weapons in their hands flew out of their hand. "Huh? Oh my god, careful, he's an enchanter." Ning slowly walked up to the girl that was the face of this whole operation. The others tried to move but they couldn't do anything at all. Their bodies were frozen solid as they couldn't move at all. Ning patted the girl on the shoulder and said, "They will come to ask you some questions. Answer all of them truthfully." "Yes," the girl said. "All right, I'm leaving now," Ning said and left the kitchen. Only then could the people begin to move. "No, we're finished," one of the men said. "Not yet. He needs to be able to prove that it was us. As long as we deny all accusations, it will be fine," another man said. "Okay. Let's do that. Everyone, make sure to keep your mouths quiet, okay?" The people there didn't know that no matter how much they planned, they had already lost the fight. Ning left the bakery and went over the Golden Flower. He walked in to see the empty place with the few women in there finishing their cleanup for the day. The bakery was going to close very early today. "Hello. Do you know where Brother Reaver and Lisa are?" Ning asked. "I'm afraid they're not here, sir. Madam and sir already left for the day. Was there something you needed?" she asked. Here's the thing." Ning went on to explain the whole thing to the girl there. "Tell them when they come tomorrow morning what I just said to you. They can talk to the miller guy or the girl at the bakery. Both of them will answer them," Ning said. The girl looked dumbfounded at the information Ning had brought back. She couldn't believe that what happened today was a targeted attack by another bakery to destroy their business and enhance their own. "I will let them know the first thing, sir. If you don't mind, can you tell me how you found out this information?" "What should I tell my madam?" the girl asked. "I have my ways. You can tell her that," Ning said. "I will leave now, goodbye." Ning left the Golden Flower and went back to his hotel. Along the way, he could see that the theater sign had changed to next week's performance instead of today's. Using something popular like a theater to piggyback on the disaster and use that to ruin another bakery's business. These people sure are shrewd with how they can come up with ideas, Ning thought. Finally, he reached the hotel, and with nothing else to do, he directly went to his room to rest for the day. Ning had 4 fist-sized rocks in his hands that he was constantly juggling as well as he could. He himself wasn't very good at juggling, but he had a little help from elsewhere. The rocks jumped around in his hands unnaturally because they were being manipulated using ether. He was training his ether usage before going to sleep so that he could get better at it. While he still didn't have the talent for it, the practice was helping him get there. The 4 rocks stopped juggling and dropped onto his hands. That was enough training for today. He threw away the rocks and went to bed. He slept for as long as he could, but when he woke up, it was still very dark outside. Damn this planet and its long nights, he thought. He would rather go stay at the south where it was perpetually bright, compared to this place where days were so long. Ning wanted to go out today as well, but he needed a guide, and without Reaver, he didn't feel like going out on his own. So, he spent the whole day in his room, practicing his ether arts. From time to time, he left his room to go have some meal, but that was all. Soon, that day was over as well and he went to bed once more. He woke up the next morning and decided he wanted to see more of the city this time. So, after having his lunch, he left the hotel to go roam the city. The industrialized city was great and all, but due to everyone being so focused on their work all the time, Ning didn't feel the same level of friendliness from the residents as he would from any town or city in Kumiya. There were not only adult men and women but also children as young as 8 years old working to earn money in the stores and the streets. Ning felt disappointed when he saw that, but there was nothing he could do. He also understood that these people likely needed this work to keep themselves afloat. Sigh, everyone is out for their own self here, he thought. He went around the city for a few more hours to look at the different landmarks and sceneries, and while he did like some of them, most of them left him feeling disappointed. Doesn't look like there is anything worth staying around here for, he thought. Ning turned around to walk away from the south of the city he was currently in. Just then, he heard a commotion from someplace close by. He could see a few amongst the masses walking at a faster pace towards a certain location and got curious. He too decided to go and see what was happening. The place he was going to was an under-construction building with a large compound that was empty of any equipment or stuff required in the construction. There were however a large number of people gathered at the compound for some reason. What surprised Ning the most was that the number of children that were here in the field was an astounding lot, and most of them looked to be younger than 10 too. Due to the crowd in front of him, he couldn't really see what was happening, so he asked someone to his left as to what was going on right now. "It's the people from the Ether Tower. They're here to see if any of the children are worthy to go to the Ether Tower," the man told Ning. "I see," Ning said. He understood the reason for the current crowd. Ether Tower, that's the place Reaver wanted to go, right? It must be similar to a big sect back in Kumia. No wonder everyone is so excited. If their children get to go there, their life would be set. A middle-aged man with a thick mustache and a bluish-black coat walked to the center and started speaking. All right, I don't have much time. All the adults, please move away from this space in front of me. Children, come line up, the man said. The man didn't seem to hold respect for anyone in there and seemed to want to leave as soon as he could. The people, however, weren't offended by his tone at all and did what he said. They all stepped aside and let the children line up. Over 400, from the looks of it. Well, I suppose a city at the edge of civilization wouldn't really have that many people anyway, the man said. He then brought out something from his storage. The device, from what Ning could see, was a crystal ball, not unlike a fortune teller's crystal ball that Ning had a vague memory of. Only, this one was entirely purple. Ning couldn't even see anything properly from this far away, so he had to use his new vision magnification skill he had very recently bought. Oh, is something glowing in there? He wondered. The man decided to waste no time and called out the children and made them put their hands on the crystal. One by one, the children did as told and not a single one of them could elicit a single change in the crystal. It wasn't until after 200 children when finally there was some change in the crystal. A small white light emitted from deep within the crystal that only the child who was touching the crystal, Ning, and the man could see. It wasn't until a few seconds later that the light became more pronounced and the regular people started noticing it. Whoa, he did it. That child is going to have a great future now. We can now boast that someone from our city went to the Ether Tower as well. The rest of the children tested, but not another one with the same results could be found. So, the middle-aged man was going to have to only take this one child back to the tower to train. Once everything was done, people started leaving, and Ning standing alone couldn't help but wonder exactly what had happened.